Well, hello there. Welcome to the Twin Peaks Thought of the Day. My name is Cameron. Today is Thursday, October 26, 2017. It's kind of amazing to do a Twin Peaks Thought of the Day right on the heels of yesterday. I remember saying to Frank, I don't think there's a lot of news, but then we got a bunch of stuff to talk about, which was awesome. So I thought, okay, that will tide me over for, a few days, if not a week. And then today happened. So there's a lot to discuss today, and we're going to get to all that. But before we get into all that, let's introduce the co-hosts. We have Mandy over here. Thank you for joining me.
Hi. How are you?
It's great to have you back.
Yeah, thanks.
And of course, we have the man himself, Hal.
Hey, Cameron. Hey, Mandy. How's it going? I want to wish you both a happy Halloween. See my shirt there? Yeah.
It's not Halloween yet, Hal.
Well, it's it is to me because I'm now on vacation and I take the Halloween week off, so I'm completely in Halloween mode.
So before we get into individual discussions, wouldn't you agree with me that today was just kind of a roller coaster in terms of just Twin Peaks news that kind of came out of nowhere?
Yeah, it was kind of bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, I've been getting messages and emails and tweets all day long from people just going crazy. I was like, okay, we need to address this. And it all started this morning at 5:45 a.m. The Entertainment Weekly story dropped, and I'll get into that in a second. And I thought, okay, I have to leave in a few minutes. Is there enough time to do kind of a quick little video and just kind of talk about it? And I was like, no, I don't have enough time. So I left. But then while I was driving, it's pitch black. And I thought, well, maybe I could do one of those cool videos that I see on YouTube where, they have the camera mounted and people are driving and kind of, doing their discussion points there. But the light wasn't great. And also I did have some, car lights behind me. So I thought it'd be kind of cool. I kind of give that Agent Cooper vibe where I'd be paranoid, and yet reporting on Twin Peaks. But the camera it kept falling over. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. But accidentally I hit record or live instead of stop. So for about 5 seconds, I was live on YouTube in the dark. And I quickly hit stop and deleted the video. I thought, it'd be better to do this tonight at 6:30 p.m. instead of 6:30 a.m. But then I got messages from people going, what happened to your video? I got a notification saying you went live, and now there's a video pulled. Is YouTube causing trouble again? I was like, no, I accidentally went live. It was horrible. It was terrible.
Oh.
So, yeah. But I kept thinking today, all right, we're going to talk about this, Entertainment Weekly news story. I thought, okay, that's going to be a lot to talk about. It's going to be great. And then the rest of the day started happening. So I'm actually quite happy that I didn't do a video this morning, because then I would have to do a second video tonight anyway to discuss everything else. So I'm glad to be able to discuss everything with you guys now, once and for all.
in one big Twin Peaks chunk.
It is. I'm just so happy for that. So let me start at the beginning. So in the morning, 5:45 in the morning, Entertainment Weekly drops this news story about the upcoming Blu-ray and DVD release. Now, what's interesting is that in the US, we have been hearing this date of December 5th for a while. Overseas, they don't have, I believe, a confirmed date yet. So that kind of put some questioning on whether we were going to get a December 5th release here, as well. So, yeah, it looks like it is confirmed now, December 5th, at least in the States. And there's going to be a DVD and there's going to be a Blu-ray release. However, I believe the Blu-ray release is the only version that has extras on it. The DVD
is certain extras.
It has extras.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It has extra. Okay, so it's not devoid of. It's not, the DVD is not devoid of all extras then.
No, they said the Blu-ray has 80 minutes of extra behind the scenes stuff that the DVD does not have.
Okay, great. Well, we're gonna get into all of that. I just wanted to make sure, because I was getting kind of conflicting things on that today. They're like, why do I have to get the Blu-ray to get all the extras? And it's like, I hate to say this, but it is 2017. I think it's time to get a Blu-ray player if you don't have one. They're $45 at Costco. Collect some aluminum cans in your neighborhood. You'll be able to afford it in no time. And
in my rush to buy it immediately, I accidentally pre-ordered the DVD because I was like, one click, and then I'm like, looked at it, I'm going, wait a minute, I got the cancel Blu-ray.
But that wasn't until later, Hal. That wasn't until later. Right now, it's still 5:45 a.m. in my timeline here.
Okay, gotcha.
So Entertainment Weekly, they dropped this thing about the Blu-ray and DVD. Now, what's awesome is that when you first click on their article, they have this amazing video showing David Lynch directing the motel scene with Kyle and Laura Dern. And I almost said Diane, but I mean, she is playing Diane, but I almost said Diane like Ladd, like her mom or something. So anyway, but it is doing the whole Richard and Linda motel scene. And I have to say, the mood, the feeling of watching that scene was, dare I say, almost better than the scene itself in the show, because they're so calm and it's so sweet. And at one point, like, Lynch asked them to kiss, kind of stage that, and he's just like, he says, "Kiss her hot." And it's like, what on earth are you talking? And then he starts talking about like, oh, it's been 25 years or so since Blue Velvet. And I'm thinking, dude, it's been 30 years since Blue Velvet when you shot that thing. Anyway, but it's a wonderful video, and it shows Lynch very calm, unlike when we saw him directing Inland Empire, when he was cussing up a storm and stomping everywhere and screaming that Laura Dern was going to shoot herself in the crotch. Those were his words, by the way, not mine. And so it was great just seeing him so comfortable and everybody so relaxed and happy. I mean, did you guys see the video as well?
Yes.
What did you take away from it?
I thought it was beautiful. I liked there's at one point where David Lynch just kind of stands back and just looks at them, and you can see all the wheels moving in his head and trying to figure out, is this what he had pictured? Is this what he envisioned? And I found that little moment, those 2 seconds of him just looking at them, that was very telling to me. And I really liked seeing his brain work that way, because he is a visual person. So he's, that he pays attention to every single detail of every single frame that he shoots. So and I found it kind of weird that Kyle and Laura Dern, Kyle seemed really awkward. He was just kind of like, okay, and kind of leans in to kiss her and stuff. It was kind of adorable, actually. So
what about you, Hal?
Yeah, I mean, I love watching Lynch's process. It was fun to see him sort of block that scene, like Mandy said, and I couldn't tell whether he was trying to get them to be what was already in his head, or whether as they were doing it in the moment, he was kind of improvising what he wanted to see and kind of stream of consciousness telling them what to do. It was also, like you said, the awkwardness between Kyle and Laura, probably because of their past relationship. I'm sure it was a bit weird as they got so close and had to kiss like that.
Can I pause you there for 1 second?
Yeah, sure.
Hold your thought. Listen, I try not to think about these kind of things, but for some reason, I adore these three people that I'm watching this video. So, of course, my mind starts wandering. And again, I noticed that awkwardness too, right? Because they did date during, right after Blue Velvet, or around Blue Velvet time. Mm-hmm. And I kept thinking, it's been 30 years since Blue Velvet. How many people have they kissed and married in their professional life that brings them back full circle to them kissing again in front of David Lynch? Mm-hmm. That's a whole lot of people.
Well, he even says, this is really strange, and so Lynch was feeling it too in that moment.
Right. And I think in that way, I think we were correct when we were talking about towards the finale. That, listen, I've been hearing, things in the background that maybe initially it was supposed to be Annie with him at the end, but for whatever reason it didn't work out. And so they know, well, Laura Dern, she works well with us, she's game, she loves David, so let's just bring her in and tie it in. And it works for what it is. But I also think that Lynch was really keen on that, because I think at the end of the day, if this is going to be a swan song, I don't think it is, but let's say it is, the idea of him being with the two actors that kind of rejuvenated his career with Blue Velvet, I think played a main role. Like, you know, let's just get rid of all this Twin Peaks stuff and bring it back to just Kyle and Laura Dern together, and me directing them privately in small rooms. I think that was a bit of the allure of it as well, don't you think?
Quite possibly on a personal level. I don't know if they would make that kind of a concession story-wise, if it didn't fit. You know, he always says everything has to be correct or whatever. But I think personally, for sure, yeah. Well,
the idea of just towards the end of the show, it's David Lynch walking down a dark hallway with his two favorite actors. You know, I mean,
I'm sure the whole procedure was meaningful for him on a lot of different levels.
Right.
The stuff with Catherine Coulson down to, like you said, with Kyle and Laura.
I think it's just layers. I think there's just layers happening there, and I think it just worked the way he wanted it to go. But at the end of the day, I mean, you have to think when you're watching part 18 initially, and you have no idea what's going on or why this is even happening. Almost every person I've talked to says that the first time they're watching it thinking, okay, David Lynch is just doing this to basically work with Kyle and Laura Dern again in a Lost Highway type of situation. So obviously I know it's not that, but it also, there is that in there as well. You know, I don't think you can just outrule that.
No, I agree that it's a personal thing for him in any project that he does. So naturally, that's going to factor into the experience for him as a director.
Right. Okay, so let's continue on with the story. If you have not checked out the Entertainment Weekly story, please do, because the video is pretty awesome. But the video is going to be in the Blu-ray set. Okay, now.
And man, I could watch hours of that stuff. So thankfully we're getting a chunk. So that'll be great.
Okay, so let's start there. Initially, people were saying that this was going to be 3 hours of bonus features, and I kind of got upset with that. I know a lot of people were like, 3 hours of bonus features, that's fantastic. And I was thinking, no, that's actually a jip. Especially when it comes to Lynch, because you know, he's put out hours of bonus features for some of his stuff, and you're talking about an 18-hour movie made over 5 years, and 3 hours is just what they could come up with. I mean, I know he's a secretive person and doesn't like things filmed, but at the same time, 3 hours is still pretty small considering the amount of history that we were getting with this thing in terms of all the actors that passed away and, you know, all the talent involved. And then it increased to 4 hours. We saw on another website. Well, today it's now confirmed 6 hours. Now I'm cool with 6 hours because I thought 6 to 10 would probably be where it should be.
Now, is it 6 and then plus the 80 minutes on the Blu-ray?
No, it's 6 hours total.
With the 80 minutes, you sure?
I believe so.
I was thinking it was 6 hours on both Blu-ray and DVD, and then 80 plus minutes on the Blu-ray itself.
I'll go through the story again, and if you're right, then awesome.
Yeah.
7.5 hours. I'll take that. I just said between 6 and 10 is probably what we should be getting with this set.
Yeah.
And I'm so, you know, think about it. Lynch used to be very secretive, and he is still secretive. But I love this idea that he's allowing, you know, camera people in there to film certain things.
Yeah, he's become a lot more accessible lately, it seems like. And the guy that's doing the behind the scenes stuff was the guy that did, remember the Interview Project?
Well, it's the guy who, well, the footage we saw is made by the guy who directed The Art Life.
Right, but he also did the Interview Project. You remember that series online years ago? Mm-hmm. Where Lynch would do the intro and then they would interview some random person about something or other. But
this is what I'm getting to, is that if you look at who is doing the bonus features, it's people that are very close to Lynch.
Yes.
So he's allowing them extreme access in. It's not just, you know, Joe Blow DVD producer coming in, because he wouldn't feel comfortable. But if he had someone who directed The Art Life, you know, filming some stuff behind the scenes, well, he's comfortable with him.
Yes.
Right. He's comfortable with Charles D. What's his name? Lazarica or something. Right. He's very comfortable with him. So awesome.
Yes.
But we're going to get to those extras in a second here. First thing first, they changed the title of the box set.
That bummed me out.
Okay, so it was okay. Now I know it was for Showtime's purposes, but it was, you know, Twin Peaks: The Return. I always refer to it as basically Twin Peaks 2017. Some people refer to it as season 3, which we then got confirmed with the official like first box set pictures saying Twin Peaks season 3, and we're like, oh, okay. Well, now they've taken that season 3 away and released it as limited event series. Now, before we get into the things that bum you out, a lot of people have contacted me saying, we think that it still is season 3. I mean, it more or less is no matter what. However, although in my mind, I kind of think of it as Twin Peaks season 25. You know, it's like what it would be like if we were 25 years and they were still making Twin Peaks. However, a lot of people have said to me that they feel like it's called the limited event series so that it will still qualify for the Emmys under limited TV, so they don't have to go against the big shows like Game of Thrones, but they can go for like, you know, those little you know, Feud, the People versus O.J. Simpson, that kind of thing, and they may have a better chance of winning some awards in those categories. So this might not be just you know, this is limited and this is what it is, and we're never doing it again, and it might just be strategic for awards,
which I think is a really good idea, because if they had just kind of left it into the big pot with all the like you said, the bigger shows, it would just get swallowed up. But the limited, it does give them a little bit more of an edge, I think. So hopefully that was the best move for them. So
okay, well now I'm not so bummed out. You guys have just given me a little hope.
But
see, I thought I interpreted it as like, okay, they caught wind. You know, everybody was saying, oh, well, it's season 3. You know, that's not the final season. You know, we even talked about that, and then they thought, well, let's not give them false hope. Let's yank that out and say limited event series, and it puts more of a finality on it. But you know, I like what you're saying about the Emmy category.
But you know what else was considered a limited event series? The Last X-Files. And they're coming back.
Yes, that's true.
And they're and when it hit and now they're saying X-Files season 11. So the limited event series is considered season 10. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't mean anything. It's just a name on a box. Although it does seem a little strange to have, you know, you're going to own a Blu-ray set that says Twin Peaks limited event series. I kind of would have preferred maybe The Return or just say Twin Peaks. I mean, who cares? I mean, if you don't know which order to watch this in, then, you know, I think get online and watch it. Or get online and figure it out.
I wish they would have called it something like Twin Peaks: A Continuing Story, because then that would be sort of generic. Whether they do more or not, they've always said it is that way because it continues in your head. So that might have been a better title. Then it could have given us hope or not.
Okay, so then it continues on saying, the special features include impressions, a journey behind the scenes of Twin Peaks, a set of 10 short films, which we have discussed on here, about and they're about 30 minutes long. And, you know, we've gone through what the titles are: The Man with the Gray Elevated Hair, Tell It Martin, 2 Blue Balls, The Number of Completion, Bad Binoculars, See You on the Other Side, Dear Friend, which I believe is the memorial segment, which is only growing by every day, because we just lost Brent Briscoe last week. Do Not Pick Up Hitchhikers, A Bloody Finger in Your Mouth, The Polish Accountant, and A Pot of Boiling Oil. Now, the footage we saw of Lynch directing Kyle and Laura Dern comes from the segment The Man with the Gray Elevated Hair. So, Hal, you were correct that is going to be primarily about the man himself, David Lynch.
Who else would it be? The Man with the Gray Elevated Hair.
who knows? You know.
It wouldn't be about you, Cameron.
No. I do have grayish hair, but I cut it.
Not elevated.
It's not it used to be, but my hair doesn't grow down or grows up. It's a very racer head type of thing. So
cool. You should grow it out, man.
No. Anyway. Okay. Then it says The set also includes Phenomenon, a 3-part featurette in which cast and crew reflect on the show's enduring legacy, along with artists, musicians, and creative personalities. So that says to me that this was filmed at the time they were shooting all the Roadhouse stuff.
You mean known colloquially as the Roadhouse?
Yes. Well, we'll get into that later. Al, don't jump the gun. Don't.
This is a teaser.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that'll be interesting. I wish. I mean, this was something that people have been requesting, and unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to get this, which is a play all function where you could just watch the concerts as one giant concert, where it would just go from, sort of like a CD set, but you could just either say play all or, because I know Hal would like that, huh?
I would have loved that as a bonus disc, man. Just the Roadhouse concert, the whole thing from beginning to end. Watch the bands change. And
I don't know about that far. I was just saying, I thought it would just maybe go from, song to song. So,
well, that would be fine too. But if they would play it, uninterrupted with all the band changes and everything, that would have been badass.
All right. Then it says both the DVD and the Blu-ray. So, everybody get ready for this. Will include the Twin Peaks Comic-Con panel, moderated by Damon Lindelof, and behind the scenes photo gallery. Okay. Like you can...
I'll take it. Why not? It was nothing great. I've already watched it, but yeah, why not?
Is that the Comic-Con panel where Everett McGill said nothing?
Yeah, he didn't have anything to say.
where most of them said nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, like, great, awesome, throw it on there. But you know what? That's not a selling point for me.
Yeah.
No.
And I speak as somebody who's a fan of a lot of the people involved in that panel, even Damon Lindelof. It's not a selling point for me. I'm like, Like, let's talk to a bunch of creatives that cannot comment on the show while it's on.
Yeah.
Heck, they can't even comment on it now and the show is over.
Yeah, it wasn't a fascinating panel at all.
Yeah.
I would have rather had them put on that series of remember where was that, UCLA?
Yes.
I would have liked to seen that on a disc, all those panels.
Well, they're not going to do that for a limited event series, Hal.
Fair.
Okay, now what's really cool is that they're going to include also the promos that they shot for this, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't really say a lot, but they were fun, and I liked I liked a lot of the stuff they did.
David Lynch eating the donuts, man, it's a great one.
There was that one, but I really liked the one where they were talking about just the series coming back, and that's when we first got to see Amy Shields and Krista Bell and Kyle and James Belushi doing little vignette, interviews. I loved that, especially when you go back and watch it, knowing what you know.
Yeah,
like, wow, they're showing you this scene, and it's like, oh yeah, this is like a crucial moment. We had no clue that they were showing us this. Just like we had no clue that they shot the entire finale of this limited event series in front of an entire neighborhood of people with no problems whatsoever. Like, nah, it's not the end. We swear. Whew. Okay. All right. Now it continues on because it just keeps going. Hal, this is the part we're going to like. We're going to get a video that's going to group together all 18 of the Rancho Rosa opening logos.
What's that going to be? Just all 18 flashing at the same time?
No, it's probably going to be one, and then the next, and the next, and then just one after it, like a play all.
Gotcha.
But then again, why don't they do that with the Roadhouse concert? Like that, I think that's. I mean,
exactly.
music aficionados like you, that's what you guys want.
I would love to see the full performances of every one of those.
And you know what? And there's also people who'd want the opposite, which is, yes, let's get a play all of the concert, but let's do it where we can eliminate those songs out of the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. To play it like a full movie. Yeah. Yeah. I would like that too.
Yeah.
But that's too many functions for a regular Blu-ray. It's too many layers of mystery.
It does seem a little bit weird that they would put the Rancho Rosas like it's fine, sure, it's cool and everything, but they haven't actually discussed any type of context or things that we should be looking for with those ever-changing logos. So now they're just going to group them together, but they're still not saying, well, this is why, because it's like Morse code or it's this or that. Like, it just seems a little bit random. But.
Right. It's like by putting that as a bonus feature, it seems to add significance. But what is it we're looking for?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. People in the chat are saying that they can see the chat, but not the video. I don't know, but hopefully it clears up or refresh, guys. Okay. Next we get the Blu-ray contains Richard Beamer, who has directed 2 featurettes, Behind the Red Curtain and I Had Bad Milk in the Rad Run. I don't even know how to say that. It says, which follows Lynch and his collaborators as they shoot in the Red Room. So I guess both these featurettes are going to be about the Red Room, which is okay. This is interesting to me because I think now Richard Beamer has an obsession with the Red Room. I'll tell you why. Because all of those still photography that we saw from the finale of season 2 was all in the Red Room. And I just thought that maybe that was just the day that Richard Beamer showed up to visit the set and he took some awesome pictures. But if he's going to be doing 2 featurettes on the David Lynch directing in the Red Room, then I think, Richard Beamer has kind of a fetish for the Red Room.
Well, I remember Sabrina Sutherland saying that, the Red Room as a physical place, when they're filming in there, it takes on this whole strange vibe and everybody feels it. So maybe Beamer as a photographer or a featurette director in this case just likes that vibe in there and thinks it's great visually and for subject matter. So that makes sense. I mean, if you were going to do a featurette about Twin Peaks and behind the scenes thing, that'd be one of my first, that's where I'd want to go shoot, inside the Red Room. And
he has to live vicariously because Ben Horn's the last person that would ever end up in the Black Lodge. So,
right.
Well, hopefully we get footage of Ray Wise longer in the featurettes than we do in the show.
Yeah.
that would be a plus.
He'll be documenting him and just sitting there drinking his coffee and just waiting and just sitting there by himself.
Sitting there going, where's more lines for me?
Yeah.
Maybe
you gave him to Tim Roth. What am I doing?
Exactly. I was going to say, Tim Roth bothered David Lynch to get more lines. Ray Wise could have said, hey, can I have some more lines? I was Leland Palmer through 2 seasons and a movie.
Hello, Leland here. Hello.
Exactly. Okay. So, you know what it would have been great to include, again, this is wishful thinking on my part, but if they're going to include the Richard Beamer stuff here, I know Frost was wanting to jokingly, or maybe not, and put On the Air on there. I wish that they had, because we still don't have like an HD release of this, or even a release as far as I'm aware of, at least here in the States. I would love to have seen that documentary that Richard Beamer and David Lynch made when they went to India.
Yeah.
I still have never even seen that.
Originally, they had announced that Lynch was going to do a whole movie about the history of the Maharishi and all that stuff, and then that never materialized either.
Right. But
so anyway, I wonder if that was part of that project, maybe. It just got shelved.
I was hoping that maybe they just kind of, since Twin Peaks, the limited event series, as it's now called, kind of showcased a lot of David Lynch's work in it, from his past films and things like that, that maybe we could get some of the unreleased stuff that he hasn't been able to release, like, in the box set as well. All right. Then we get another featurette called A Very Lovely Dream, 1 week in Twin Peaks. And this one is directed by Charles D. Lazarica. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. It says, which focuses on the return of the Twin Peaks cast to the locations in Snoqualmie and North Bend. So that sounds lovely.
Yeah. It's probably when they first arrived and looked around and stuff. He followed them around, watched that reaction.
Yeah, and they'll probably have interviews with, crazy stalker fans like Mandy that showed up on the set and was filming things illegally. And
hey, you know what? You would be there every day if you lived up here.
That's true. That is true. Although I'm more convinced than ever that in the show there was that scene with the little kid and he shoots the gun and goes through the double R. I really don't think. I think that kid was framed. I think that was actually David Lynch, like shooting at people filming the locations from across the street, and just the bullet ended up going through the Double R Diner. Because remember, you know, there were wonderful people up there like Mandy and people that were, you know, minding their own business and taking little pictures and keeping them to themselves. There were other people up there taking pictures and creating blogs and things of like Nadine's shop and things that created an uproar with Lynch Frost Productions, or, you know, so but yeah, so hopefully Charles is able to capture the many layers of fandom that was happening up there.
I'm still surprised by all the things that you had said, how, you know, you were like, oh yeah, I got lots of messages. People had already seen Shelley on the car, and, you know, Bobby talking to the lady that was screaming, that whole thing, seeing the fights, or Red and Shelley leaving the diner. Like, I'm surprised how, and videos of Nadine walking. There was that video released a little while ago of these people just driving up and down the street in their car with their camera out the window, and you can see Nadine, you can see Ed when they were doing that whole scene. It's crazy. It's unfortunate that so many people knew certain things that were coming, at least with me, with what I saw. And I didn't take video or anything, but I took pictures. But I was convinced that I was seeing a woodsman talking to Carl at the trailer park, which later turned out to be Mark Frost in dark clothing and jacket, which shows how very far away he was from me. I may be a little blind as well, but
listen,
but yeah, like
woodsmen do not talk with Carl.
well,
they stop at the Taco Bell drive-thru first, and then creep up on people in the back seat of their cars.
Yeah, that's crazy.
but you got some really cool pictures, and, you know,
yeah.
And you got to see David Lynch doing his thing.
Yeah, he drove right past me with a big cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and I had known. Well, we went up to see Big Ed's gas farm just to see it, if they had done anything with it, and it was very obvious that it was not, you know, the same one that they had used in the show. But yeah, it was still a really good experience. But I think the people that took all the videos and were posting stuff on those different sites, it's just kind of unfortunate. So I don't like spoilers.
Well, neither do I, but I also thank you very much for doing that so I could see some of it. Because I don't know, you know what? Because it wasn't like a you know, the turnaround of a normal TV production. I mean, we got 3 seasons of Fargo while they made 1 season of Twin Peaks. So, you know, it was a long wait from 2014 to what we got this year. So I was okay for little nuggets here and there. But I mean, can you just imagine if you had been one of those people that were there the night they shot the finale in front of that entire neighborhood, and you had no idea it was the finale, and then you see the show and you're like, wait a minute, this is the end? And I was there. Like, that would have been awesome.
I can't even think about it, because it would have been ridiculous, just completely nuts. So yeah, just the fact, like, when we saw that footage, however, like 2 years ago, just the fact that Cheryl Lee was at the house and walking up to it with Kyle, it was like there's 15,000 scenarios that we could all imagine right now as to what's happening, and we were all wrong. Every single person was wrong, and it was still like, that would have been a really great experience. So
yeah, I was convinced that was going to happen around, I don't know, episode 12 or 13, and then, you know, I was wrong. But Hal, you know, would you have loved to have been there for the filming of some of this stuff as well?
Come on, I've never been there at all. I mean, during the filming, it would have been Lynch-gasmic. It's like, listen, of course I would have.
Everybody watching this video and has been watching this podcast is convinced more than ever now that if you had gotten your tail feather over to where they were shooting, you would have been a woodsman.
That would have been amazing.
You could have actually gotten the part of Got a Light.
I don't think so. I don't have the beard, man. I don't have the right beard. I don't have the Lincoln beard.
Actually, you should go to a Twin Peaks festival, and that's what you cosplay.
I thought about doing it for Halloween, but I didn't get it together. I just didn't.
Lizard King in the chat says the finale scene was shot at 2 a.m. in the morning. So, yeah. That wouldn't have stopped me or Mandy from being there.
Nope.
Can you imagine the people
just
that
bigger
didn't,
coffee.
the people that didn't know what was going on? They hear that blood-curdling scream in the middle of the night. What the hell?
No, I remember getting like messages from people saying, we hear Laura, Cheryl Lee at least, screaming uncontrollably. And at first I was thinking, because I saw the footage of them going up the stairs, and I thought, are they going to kill her again in the living room? Because I remember that, after the episode 14, when it goes to episode 15, before we go to the next day, they kind of do a replay, and you see the outside of Laura's house, but you hear Maddie screaming inside, and that's what popped in my head, like, oh God, we're gonna get something like that, but we didn't. But that's fine. I mean, listen, for all the ups and downs that I had with part 18 initially, I never had a problem with the last 5 minutes of that show. I thought the last 5 minutes were pretty killer.
Yeah.
All right, so let's keep going here. Let's see here.
So it's the Richard Beamer pieces that are not going to be on the DVD.
Okay, yeah.
So,
but what's the 80 minutes?
Look at that Entertainment Weekly article.
At
the bottom of it, it says there's 80 minutes extra on the Blu-ray.
Okay, so yes, it's only the Blu-ray will contain the Charles Lauzarica featurette and the Ben Horn featurette, or Richard Beamer featurettes. So that's the only difference between the DVD and the Blu-ray.
Okay,
but
what is the point of that though? That seems strange.
Just create incentive,
right?
Oh, I guess,
but you know what we don't get in this set? No deleted scenes.
That's true. No deleted scenes.
No missing pieces. So,
unless they're saving that for a re-release somewhere down the line,
I guarantee you they're gonna do a huge box set of everything together.
Yeah, a massive box set,
and they're gonna make all of us buy it again.
It'll come in a double R to go pie box.
I mean, how many? Like I said the other day, how many times have we bought Fire Walk with Me? Many, many times. And when they release it again in Lynch's director's cut, that is supposedly on being worked on, I'll buy it again.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Take my cash, please.
Yeah.
As exactly. Jerry Horn would say, we had those Vikings by the horns.
Yeah.
And that's what Lynch does for us. So overall, are you pretty pleased with this set or what you're hearing? Because listen, when I heard about 30-minute featurettes, I was thinking, okay, that could be one or two things. It could be kind of, cut and paste kind of normal EPK type of things, that are frivolous, or it could be kind of in-depth kind of stuff. Now, judging from the video we saw today, looks pretty in-depth, which I'm pretty happy about.
Yeah, I'm excited for the extra features, but remember, the real reason we're buying it is for the show itself. I mean, I'm really psyched about that, to have that in perfect picture and sound.
That's your opinion, Hal? I've seen the show. I'm kidding. I love it, but I listen. If it was just the Blu-ray, I've said it before, I'll say it again. If it was just the Blu-ray of the show, no extras whatsoever. Okay. I actually probably would not buy it on December 5th.
I don't believe you, Cameron. I don't believe you.
No.
With your collection, I gotta have it now.
No.
I can't see you letting that ride.
No, honestly, because I said I wasn't going to buy the Criterion Fire Walk with Me until it went on sale. And then what they do the first day it was out, it went on sale. So that's why I got it.
But that's something you already had. So that's not as important as here's something you don't have. I mean, just to see that on your shelf, you're gonna wait on that? I don't believe you.
No, what I would have done is, because I believe that December 5th will also be the day it hits streaming, and I would probably just get like a digital version of it until it went down in price.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Right. But I would not be paying. Okay, Amazon right now has it listed because at noon today, at least Pacific Standard Time, it dropped on Amazon pre-order. Right now, it's going for $64.99 on Blu-ray, which is about what the entire mystery cost with Fire Walk with Me and the Missing Pieces.
I think that'll drop as we get closer to the release date.
It will completely drop. I guarantee you by the time December 5th rolls around, we're looking at $49.99.
Hey, that'd be great.
And if you lock in the pre-order price now, you're going to be paying whatever, but yeah, it's going to drop. Probably it will be no more than 54, but probably 49 first day.
Because of the pre-order price guarantee, I felt no problem about ordering it for whatever it is, 65, because it's like I wanted to hit that, first day where they pre-order it. I wanted those sales to shoot up as much as possible. I wanted to be part of those numbers. So
of course.
Yeah, and then I know that whatever the lowest price is prior to the release date, that's what I'm going to actually get it for.
But see, that's the thing. Because they loaded this thing up with quality extras, and they also dropped that little video to give you a taste, a nugget of what those extras are kind of like. Instant sell.
Boom. Buy with one click. Click.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I'm not waiting on that.
No.
Right. That's just like boom. But like I said, if it was just the episodes, no extras, whatever, I would have no problem waiting till it hit $40 or $35 to pick it up. I would not be paying 65 for no extras in the show, as much as I love it.
See, I've got that collector's mentality. I want to see it on my shelf. Damn it.
Why wouldn't mind waiting for those post-Christmas prices? Damn it.
That's true. Yeah, if there was no extras, I may be with you on that, but.
Yeah, and these videos would be increasingly more agitated if there were no extras on this Blu-ray set. But anyway, yeah. So right now it's going for more or less what the entire mystery was going for at its best sale when that came out. So it will drop, but that's kind of a pricey thing for one series. I mean, because they'll say like, "Oh, it's 18 hours." Yeah, but a lot of series are 22 episodes. So, and we're not paying the $65 for Once Upon a Time season 6. So
they didn't announce like there's no cool booklety thing or anything in there either, is there? So I wonder what the graphics are going to be like inside. I
don't know, but they should be doing it where like you get like a free Ike Spike. Because The Walking Dead always has those like collector things where you get like the zombie head that's and all that.
That would be so much fun.
Like, what would you want to see as a collector's piece that came with the Blu-ray set?
Oh my gosh.
Oh well, right away the gold shovel.
Right.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
I'm sure people in the chat are gonna have lots of wonderful suggestions in a second, but. Yeah, that would be great. But yeah, I mean, Mandy, did you already buy it?
No, not yet. No, I'm gonna wait. I usually wait until things drop significantly. I always pay more here anyway because things are just more expensive here than what you guys get it for. So I'm just gonna wait till the very last minute. But I will make sure I have it on December 5th.
Well, we're not going to have it on December 5th. I'll tell you that much because not the way Amazon releases things. I got I said yesterday that I got a notification saying the final dossier wasn't going to be at my house till November 10th.
Yeah, mine says November 6th to the 10th, somewhere in that range.
Right.
Oh, I think mine does too, actually, because I just finally pre-ordered that like 2 days ago. Oh dear.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's going to be a bummer waiting a week for that.
Yes, well, it's a good thing we read some of it already. Anyway, we'll get to that later. But yeah, pre-order, go for it. Don't be like Hal and order the DVD by accident.
All right.
Okay. You get your light out, your pen light out, and order correctly the Blu-ray. All right, let's see. Let me go to the chat real quick, make sure they're behaving themselves. Mark says Cameron is lying about me not buying the Blu-ray set. He says
Right.
says that I would buy it for $300.
That's right.
No.
Cameron, come on. You get Scooby-Doo, the Lego movie, on its release date. You're gonna pass on
$5. They're $5. Okay. And Showtime does not include digital copies. You don't get a free UV copy of with it. So if I had my choice, then I would just buy the streaming until it came out. What's the problem with that? I'm going to own it eventually anyway.
I have the collector's mentality. And
well, so do I.
Too.
But
you
so
want that thing on your shelf, man.
Yes, but I would not want to benefit Showtime if they gave me a set with no extras.
Right. It's like a personal protest at that point. I get that too.
Right. But look what happens. They release all these awesome extras, and what do? I buy it the first day.
Exactly.
So that's how you listen.
Yeah, as a fan, I need Showtime to super serve me. Damn it.
No, I think that when you have something that this monumental, this historical, there needs to be some quality extras. It looks like they're providing them. Mm-hmm. So I'm sold.
I don't think there was ever any doubt that they weren't going to do it upright, Was there? I mean, we knew it was going to be a nice package.
I have no idea. I just hope it looks better on Blu-ray than it did on Showtime with all those crushed blacks where I couldn't even see the screen some of the time.
Yeah, that's what I'm really looking forward to, is rewatching it again in that perfect picture and sound.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Douglas says Cameron has access to Twin Peaks items that would make the most hardened collector cringe. What does that mean? Halzak says, what's this about a director's cut of Fire Walk with Me? Talk to him, Hal.
Well, Sabrina Sutherland at the Twin Peaks UK Fest said that they were aware of the fan edit that guy Q2 or whatever his name was did, and that Lynch is considering as a future project reinserting some of the missing pieces footage into Fire Walk with Me into sort of a director's cut. But she said he will do it in a completely different way than what the fan edit was like. So that was kind of a cryptic statement, but bodes well for the future if that's true.
But listen, let me speak up for the fan edit. The fan edit followed the script, right?
Right.
Now, I'm not saying that all of those missing pieces should be in the film, but the fan edit did not do an irresponsible thing. It followed the script more or less, right?
No, I don't think she was saying it wasn't a good job. It was just that it would be different. So don't think it's just going to be the same kind of thing.
Well, I just don't want Lynch to. I want Lynch. Okay, let's say Lynch is doing it, right?
Yeah.
Lynch needs to go into it with the mentality of 1992 Lynch. I don't want to see a 2018 revised version of Fire Walk with Me from David Lynch's perspective.
I don't know. That might be fascinating in a way.
True.
I'm just totally complete rethinking of it.
Or he'd put in 15 minutes of a horse in a room, and we would just have to stare at it for 15 minutes.
Listen.
Because you're never gonna. The original's never gonna disappear. So whatever he does with it, you still have both versions.
All right, I'm going insane here. This needs to be a Blade Runner kind of thing. Then I want the theatrical cut. I want the theatrical cut. I want the fan edit, and I want Lynch's 2018 just Holy Jumpin' George version. Okay,
right.
I want it all. Just like Sharpay says in High School Musical 3. I want it all. Damn it. But
that was the worst reference you've ever done.
I was just going to say that was like your Citizen Arcane.
That's the shout out to my crazy fans out there that go crazy whenever I throw something out so random. But yeah, no, I think but see, like some of the missing pieces, like that above the convenience store scene that we got in the missing pieces, that was 2013 David Lynch editing that, not 1992. Because that push in that happens on Jürgen Prochnow character, that wasn't in the original version of that scene. That was like using modern effects, because he used that master shot and then pushed in, so again, I mean, I like that, but you know, I wouldn't want to see something, you know, where like we're gonna watch Fire Walk with Me backwards or something like that. You know? Although people in the chat are saying that Twin Peaks: The Limited Event Series should come with a free coaster of Inland Empire, which, you know, I agree. Okay. David Wolf says Best Buy has a listing for it at $59.99, but it isn't available to order yet.
Amazon will drop it. I'm convinced.
And Lights Above says, no Hal, no Mandy. The High School Musical reference was awesome. Thank you.
I didn't say it wasn't awesome. I'm just saying it was obscure.
Well, listen, if you are home at night, Thursday evening, watching a Twin Peaks podcast 2 months after the limited event series finished, you're already obscure.
Yeah, you're all about the arcane references at that point.
Oh, Lizard King makes a great joke. We're going to have 18 hours of this and no chapter stops on the Blu-ray.
That'd be good.
No, because I want to just go to some of the highlight scenes that I love. I don't want to have to fast forward through everything, you know?
I know, but it would be great to see it as a supercut in one 18-hour flow.
They can't do that. There's
I
no
know,
Blu-ray that
I
can
know.
house 18 hours.
I know. Well, they could do it in 3 parts, three 6-hour parts.
The Twin Peaks, aka the Lonesome Dove cut. All right, so then later today,
And what they should do is let Mark Frost take that footage and go in and re-edit the Mark Frost version.
Oh my gosh.
oh, you know what that would be like? That would be like when William Friedkin let William Peter Blatty do a cut of The Exorcist, and we got the writer's cut, which became the director's cut later, but or is known in the late 90s or 2000 as the version you've never seen. But that was the screenwriter's cut of the movie, and
Interesting.
William Friedkin eventually backed it. Okay, so then more news comes out. I get contacted by one of our awesome viewers and says, this is breaking. You know, I'm like, oh crap, what is this? And because I'm already bombarded, right? I got this Entertainment Weekly thing I got to talk about. Then I just pre-ordered the Blu-ray set, and now I got more news coming out. I'm like, what is going on here? It's just a random Thursday. All right, so this article drops from IndieWire. This is the headline: Twin Peaks Season 4. Mark Frost is considering making new episodes. Showtime musing as well. Exclusive. David Lynch's longtime writing partner said he hasn't decided yet if he'll do another season, but it's an open question he is considering. Now, before we get into Hal and Mandy's take, which I don't think it's going to be very positive, but let me just say this. Okay, we've had the UK festival. We had the Festival Disruption, right? We had what else? Oh, we have Mark Frost book coming out, and wasn't there something else too that happened? The pop-up store, which apparently is coming back as well. So we've had 4 things happen. Well, the book's coming out in a few days. This article is another one of these testing the water articles. They want to see how many clicks this article gets. They want to see how many shares it gets. They are gauging audience reception. They're trying to see what they can do, what they can't do. You know, like, if Lynch is not involved, can they kind of go around this way? If Lynch is involved, if he gives limited involvement, how much can they do? How much can they get away with? So this kind of article is, when it says exclusive, this is Showtime itself, like contacting somebody, contacting a journalist and saying, here, run this. Let's see what it gets. Because as I said, they're going to make an announcement soon. pro or negative. But right now, this is the ground. Like Hal said, they're seeing how many pre-orders this Blu-ray set's going to get. You know, they're seeing what people were saying at the festivals, how many people showed up at the pop-up store. What's the takeaway on you know, people buying the merchandise, you know? So that's where we're heading with this. Let me just go through the article real quick, and then I'll let you guys do your take on it. Says David Lynch's Twin Peaks co-creator, Mark Frost, said today that he hasn't decided yet if the show will come back for a fourth season. Again, you know, it's funny how, again, this whole play, which is so absurd, is that Showtime's saying, well, we'll do it if Mark and David want to do it. And then Mark and David say, well, we'll do it if Showtime wants to do it. It's like, which is it? The fact is that they all just want to make sure they're on board. And once they, you know, sign those contracts, we're good. And like I said, Showtime doesn't want to lose the subscribers, so they're going to be willing to play with them a little bit. I think what we could get is, like I said, I've been talking about maybe doing the Twin Peaks standalone films and maybe an original film by David Lynch. What we could get, believe it or not, is we could get one Twin Peaks standalone film, one original film by David Lynch, and maybe one original film by Mark Frost. That could be something that kind of seals the deal with them. And that might tide people over until season 4. Or maybe Mark Frost will want to do something in the Twin Peaks universe, but not touching base on the main plot. Because, I mean, remember years ago, you talked about doing wanting to do the Agent Cooper murder mystery thing on ABC, where it's going to be like Columbo, where we get like 2-hour standalone Agent Cooper mysteries, which obviously never happened. But you never know. That could happen. So Mark Frost says, I haven't decided yet. I think it's still an open question, and one that we're looking at, and one that I think Showtime is musing as well. Says Lynch has also said he hasn't ruled out a fourth season. Frost and Lynch's close working relationship and friendship dates back 30 years. Says Frost is responsible for more of the mythology and narrative world of Twin Peaks than he's sometimes given credit for. It was Frost who, back in 2012, came up with the initial idea of how the duo could revisit the world of the show more than 2 decades after it went off the air. Now, this part makes me laugh, because it says, the anchor for Twin Peaks, The Return, and starting point came from the moment we revisited the last episode of the original show. Cooper's dilemma of when good Cooper trapped bad Cooper out, and that weirdly prescient line of the spirit of Laura whispering to Cooper, which she doesn't whisper to Cooper, I will see you again in 25 years. That was a springboard to the story, and that is where I saw the opening to bring us back, and that is what I proposed to David when we got back together in 2012 and said, this is where we can pick up the thread. Now, what's funny, what makes me laugh about that is definitely the words of a man who had not revisited Twin Peaks in 25 years. Because he's like, David, this is where we could pick things up. Whereas the fans were saying for 25 years, like, you better pick it up from this strand. Right? It's just so funny. Like, obviously Mark Frost went off to do many, many other things. David Lynch went on to do many other things. I don't think they thought about Twin Peaks at all. They probably just assumed it was gone, it was over, it was done. And then, like, Frost went back and rewatched it and was like, oh yeah, we could do something like this. Meanwhile, the fans are like, yeah, duh. Of course you better pick it up from this plot thread. You know, that would have been really absurd if they didn't. I mean, some people were saying before season 3 began that, oh, you know what? They probably would have already dealt with all this stuff off screen. And so Cooper will just be Cooper when the show starts back up. And I'm like, no, you cannot do that kind of crap off screen. We need to see the repercussions and the dealings of the doppelganger. And that's why I was so happy when they gave us that great, great, great introduction to the doppelganger with the American Woman theme, because it's all slowed down. And the moment you see that classic Lynch shot of the car light, the headlights, and the music all slowed down, I jumped off my couch and I said, "It's Bob! He's here!" Because that was the classic Bob introduction. because like when he kills Maddie and the everything slows down, you know. And so the fact is you had this American Woman theme all slowed down, and then you had Kyle get out of the car just like he was dressed like Bob, just like he was the man. You know, when he was in Leland, he had to pretend to be this mild-mannered guy that worked for Ben Horn, you know, and kind of come out once in a while. But here he was able to just be Bob for 25 years uninterrupted. It was pretty awesome. But let me just finish here. It says, it was an idea that set into motion a nonstop and tireless 4.5 years for Lynch in writing the show with Frost, then shooting and editing the 18 episodes. It's an enormous commitment and one that Frost says neither he nor Lynch takes lightly. It's something you have to think long and hard about, said Frost. We'll make the decision when the time is right. There certainly is no sense of urgency about it, even though David Lynch is 70 years old. Says Frost's second book about the show, The Final Dossier, comes out Tuesday, October 31st. All right, Mandy, let's talk. Before we began recording, you guys said you weren't happy with his words. Talk to me.
The only thing that bothered me, I mean, there's a lot of different things going on in my head regarding that article. The thing that bothered me is just them saying, it seems like a lackadaisical thing. I don't know if I want to do it or not. I mean, I think that sort of is like, that bummed me out a little bit. But yet, on the other hand, I can see why it is a huge commitment. They are getting up there, especially Lynch. You know, do you want to commit another 4 years of your life to this project, or do we leave it, lie where it's at? It is funny what you said about the 25 years thing. It's like, like you said, it's like, if it wasn't for the fans saying that over and over again, it seems like they would have never pulled their dusty copy of it out and put it in and say, wow, look at that. It does say, see you in 25 years. That's interesting. I'd forgotten all about that. And the fans are going like, hello. That is hilarious, So, but yeah, it's just, it seems weird though, that there's a little bit of like, I haven't decided what to do yet, Mark Frost says. It's like, he doesn't say we haven't decided, like this collaborative team, and we're thinking about it and we're pondering the options. It's kind of like, nah, I haven't decided yet. That seemed a little bit of a short shrift to both Lynch and the fans, like, nah,
but let's talk about real briefly the fact that every time, not every time, but these last two times, Final Dossier and The Secret History of Twin Peaks, whenever Mark Frost comes out with a book, it's immediately stated, this is Mark Frost's version of Twin Peaks, not mine. So they've already created this separation of church and state, where in Mark Frost's world, it's Tamara or Tamara Preston. In my world, it's Tammy Preston. And yes, you can see the difference.
But I wonder how much of that, tease is to sell the book, because it's like, I remember, John Lennon used to accuse Paul McCartney, because Paul McCartney had put an album out and he'd say, are the Beatles getting back together? The inevitable question everybody asked at his press conferences. Maybe, you never know. And John would say, yeah, he says that every time he's got a new album coming out, So it reminded me a little of that.
Mandy? I feel a Mandy rant coming.
No, I'm going to be good. I don't want anyone to be mad at me, so I'm not going to rant. But yeah, the separatist, the way that both David Lynch and Mark Frost speak about Twin Peaks as separatists is actually kind of annoying and a little. I feel almost it's a little bit offensive. Because, David Lynch, like we've all just said here, like David Lynch says, well, if I do it, that it's going to take a lot of years. And then here's Mark Frost saying, I haven't decided yet. And I'm like, oh, neither of you can make this work properly without each other. So why don't you just automatically talk like that? But at the same time, Mark has these books that keep coming out. David Lynch refuses to be kind of associated with it. So, and this article just, it was a little off-putting, because it's like, I don't think that this would just be in Mark Frost's hands. I don't think it would just be Mark Frost's decision. If I feel like doing it, I will.
But you know what, though? He would be allowed to, maybe not contractually, but I almost think, when like a spouse cheats on somebody, and then the other spouse says, that allows me to do it to you one time as well, tit for tat type of thing. And I think Frost is still a little bit hurt that Lynch just went off and did Fire Walk with Me without Frost. So maybe Frost is like, you know what? You might take a few years to do season 4, but that can't stop me from doing something in the universe over here. Because when I see the headline, it sounds like whether Lynch is back or not, Frost might take it over and do maybe a 6-episode arc by himself, which I'm actually not opposed to that.
Well,
following the rest of the news today, I'm not either.
Okay.
When Lynch was out there briefly, he even made a mention of I don't think Twin Peaks is off the table. I think that's going to continue. It's just going to continue without me. So that must be a possibility. If Lynch would bail out, Mark Frost could still continue it.
Like when Lynch first dropped out of the limited event series.
Yeah.
And everyone did that big video, like, without David Lynch, there's no Twin Peaks, without, whatever. Mm-hmm. I was one of the few people, honestly, that said, now after I've seen this new series, I can't back this up. But at the time, I was saying I would have been okay if Mark Frost and Leslie Lincoln Glatter and, Tim Hunter, and they got the original filmmakers back together from, the first season or whatever, and they made it. If Lynch wasn't going to do it, I would have been okay with that. Now, that being said, seeing season 3 now, it's very apparent that this was written to be a David Lynch film, because I don't think anybody else could have made part 8 the way David Lynch made part 8. I don't think you would even try if you weren't David Lynch.
Well, I think what you said, Cameron, would have been okay had David Lynch expressed no interest in being involved. Then I would have accepted that. But the fact that he was involved and then went, something happened, we couldn't agree, and now I'm out, and they're going to continue. That's what pissed everybody off, because it was so close to being a David Lynch project that it would be a shame to have him somehow be disrespected in that way. If he had no interest, that's a different story.
Listen, I love David Lynch more than anything. I will defend the man even when he frustrates the hell out of me. So I got his back every step of the way. That being said, I am not opposed to other filmmakers that I love and trust, and especially have worked in this medium before, tell a story in this universe. The universe is too big to wait 6 years for Lynch to make another thing at Twin Peaks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's just my personal feeling. I listen, as I hate saying this kind of thing, but because I love the man, and but I try to see all different sides. David Lynch made Twin Peaks what it was. He helped make it what it was. He also helped destroy it too. Okay. I mean, he did. He helped destroy it as well. I mean, if Fire Walk with Me if he had done the continuation and not the prequel, even though I know everyone loves Fire Walk with Me, if they had done, something similar to The Return as the standalone Twin Peaks movie, that would have made more money than Fire Walk with Me. And I think having that rushed production schedule of Fire Walk with Me, cranking out a film that, he obviously had not been totally fine with releasing, even though he says he was. I feel in a way that Lynch is at his best. He's fantastic, but I think that he also can shoot himself in the foot a few times.
Yeah, I think a little of that Fire Walk with Me, like you said, rushing it out. I think it was partially like he always talks about the love for it, the love of that world. I think there was part of that. I think there was also a part of it, especially with the TV smashing at the beginning of it, was an ego thing of saying, you think you'll stop me? You can't stop me. I'll make a movie. It's like, it was rushed because it was like an ego thing of like, you can't make it end. I'm the only one that can say what's going to happen, what the fate of it is.
And you say this, and I say this as a huge fan of that movie.
Of course.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But it's okay, as we were saying with The Return, or whatever they're calling it now.
The limited event series.
Yes, exactly. It's okay to love it for what it is, but also to, see it for what it is too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's so many things that Lynch does that I'll go, I really love that style, love that quirky thing about it. But I'll also say, that quirky thing you did also alienated quite a few people, So, I try to look at it from all different ways. But, Lynch has done, when he is on fire, he is just awesome.
Yeah.
But there are things that he has done that I go, you know what? That was not a good move. You may have looked at this as an experiment and a fun thing because you love the process of filmmaking, and I'm all for that. But you also have to realize that somebody on the other end is going to watch this. And you have, which I think is the problem with like Inland Empire. Again, it's, I make fun of this kind of stuff, but it's true. You can enjoy the process, but it still has to, if you don't on some level entertain, right, then you're not going to get the repeat viewers to buy your things over and over again. And eventually they're going to stop buying your products altogether. So I love The Return. I loved it. Right. But I understand when I posted this story about possibly a season 4, and people online said to me, this is like, after season 3, this is like being punched in the face and saying, Mister, can I have some more? Like, they just feel like they're just like, this is the abused spouse syndrome of like, I just got the crap beat out of me for 18 hours. You treated me like shit. You didn't answer anything. And now you want me to come back to you? Okay.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. We have people in the chat that obviously love Inland Empire. I just use Inland Empire as a fun punching bag because it is so alienating to so many people. And, it just, again, it's a movie that I can enjoy it for what it is, but I also recognize it as it's Lynch having access to digital cinema. If this was made on film, Inland Empire would have been 2 hours and 15 minutes long. But digital cinema means that he could just run the camera for 45 minutes and not care, and then be like, I like that. That's why the Polish premiere was 4.5 hours, right? Of course, with your popcorn, they also gave you a straight razor.
Right.
Because about the third hour of Laura Dern walking down a hallway, I would have been gone. That would have just been the last live stream you saw on YouTube. I can't do it anymore, Lynch. And I would have missed The Return. The limited event series. So anyway, but I'm okay with the Mark Frost words because it is two wonderful egomaniacs, all saying, like they're back in their horse in the Twin Peaks thing.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm glad that he didn't say, not going to do it. No, done.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
the fact that we're keeping hope alive is good.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because the fact of the matter is this. If Mark Frost, again, I love the man, but let's say Mark Frost said, I'm not doing any more Twin Peaks. Do you think the David Lynch fans give a crap? They'd be like, bye, Mark. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Let David do his Twin Peaks. We don't care, right? They're fine with that. Because as I've heard many times online, well, Lynch made Fire Walk with Me without Frost, and that was great. So, people are okay with that. But they're not okay if Lynch says, I'm not doing anymore, and Mark Frost says, I'm going to take it over. They're not okay with that. Whereas me, I wouldn't care. I just want to see more stories in this universe.
Yeah.
That's just me. And because I love in the original series of Twin Peaks, I loved when Lynch would come in and direct an amazing episode, and then other directors would come in and do their episodes, which were also very good. And then Lynch would come in he always came in and do the humdinger episodes. He looked at the plot and was like, I'm not coming back for James and Evelyn. I'm coming back to kill Maddie. Right. So he always came in for when you saw it directed by David Lynch, this was going to be a big episode.
Yeah.
Right. But what people seem to forget is Lynch directed 6 of the episodes. Now, yes, they are 6 of the best episodes. However, there is not one unwatchable episode of Twin Peaks.
But you have to also remember that the cast was unhappy with the direction. I mean, you know, when Lynch would go on there, everybody was like, yeah, this is it. You know, when other people were in control, the cast was not a happy bunch.
Boo-hoo.
Well, but they also have a decision whether to come back or not, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't know about contracts, do you, Hal?
Well,
Showtime has them under lock and key. If they say dance, Kimmy will dance on the Miss Twin Peaks pageant. I mean, do you think the actors in the Marvel universe and Star Wars universe have a choice about whether to come back for part 9?
no, but yeah, I mean, if they've signed them to, you know, to future seasons, I don't know what the contracts are like. I don't know if they.
Well, I guarantee you they signed them for something, because even though this limited event series is over, they can't talk. So they're signed to something. They're signed to secrecy.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, you wanna work again with Twin Peaks? You sign on that dotted line. And I'm so convinced that this article, even though like you guys are saying about, oh, Mark Frost saying this or Lynch saying this article is written for one reason, that is, again, to gauge everybody, see where we are, see people are really interested. I guarantee you 3 weeks time, we're going to hear what the plans are by Thanksgiving. I guarantee.
Yeah, I think it's all about Frost's book for now. Why announce season 4 when he's going to sell this book? You know, let's take it in steps. But yeah, I agree that it's a gauge, like you said, to see what the interest is. And it's always been about the fans. They keep saying that, you know, and the fans want more. So, you know, so I see it happening. I just don't know in what shape or form, and hopefully it won't take long, because like you said, they say it's not urgent. Well, it is, because, you know, like you said, David Lynch is getting up there.
And the cast, I mean, they're dropping like flies.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's sad.
It really is.
I don't know. I just love the world of Twin Peaks, and I would rather, like, if let's say Lynch is like, you know what, I'll come back and do this maybe a year or so, 2 years down the line. But in the meantime, Frost and maybe Leslie Linka Glatter, who's obviously Showtime darling with Homeland, could come up and do a little something here and there. I'm okay with that, because again, that's how I experienced Twin Peaks to begin with. Lynch came in and out, and other people did stuff, and then Lynch came in and did like the humdinger kind of episode. I'm okay with that. What I don't want to see is them saying, Twin Peaks is done, Twin Peaks is over, that's what we're not going to do anymore. And then 10 years down the line, some snot-nosed, cool new showrunner that just came off the FX network or something like that says, I'm rebooting Twin Peaks. That's what I don't want to see. I'd rather see people that have played in this universe before, people who really love this universe before, continue this universe, as opposed to just like rebooting it and it playing on some other network 10 years from now. That will make me start vomiting Garmonbozia.
Yeah, that would suck.
And
I would have no interest in something like that.
And you know for a fact that's where we're heading if they don't just do something.
Yeah, 10 years down the line, it's the new Twin Peaks with, like you said, this young director from the FX networks, and it's starring Robin Lively.
And Donald Trump. Jacob Starr says, we've already seen a Twin Peaks reboot. It's called Riverdale.
Right.
Which was surprising that Lynch even like had a Riverdale in joke in part 8.
Right.
Calling the diner after that. It was kind of ridiculous. But you know,
chocolate shop.
But I think because he likes Machen a lot. So he's like,
man, but you know, we talk about how many of the cast aren't around anymore, and you know, they can't wait. But think about it, you know, you could do Grace Zabriskie, Ray Wise, David Lynch, you know, Machen Amick's there, Dana Ashbrook, you know, you could bring back Wyndham Earl, Heather Graham. It's like, you know, you could make all kinds of cool stories with the people that we have that are still vital, man.
Lights Above says, I think it was interesting that Leslie Linka Glatter was at the premiere of Twin Peaks: The Return. Definitely. And everybody's saying Riverdale is not the new Twin Peaks, it's Tween Peaks.
Oh, good. That's good.
It's like Stranger Things that always gets compared to Twin Peaks too. I tried to watch the first episode of that. I'm going, no, it bores me.
That's one of Mandy's favorites.
I'm sorry, but I could. It's like Harry Potter. I couldn't get into that either. I'm like,
No,
listen,
I couldn't do the Harry Potter. No.
I have a problem with anything weird that comes on TV automatically gets compared to Twin Peaks. I mean, it's really frustrating because no, Twin Peaks is not. It's weird, but it's on a whole different level than just
different level. Yeah, it's like people. It's like think they can take this template and turn it into a hit show. It's like no, you can't.
The only shows that have come around that have been even remotely close, and we've talked about this before, is my number one would be American Gothic with Gary Cole, who is one of the greatest people ever. And the first few episodes of Wayward Pines. That was it. Those are the only two that I think could actually stand up to be like, oh, okay, there's a lot of Twin Peaks similarities in here. The rest of them, I mean, you can't call a dark, brooding town. It's just like Twin Peaks when it's Archie. And I love Riverdale. It's actually really good. I got sucked into it, and it's a guilty pleasure. You just watch it because it's decent. So, but Stranger Things is not anything like Twin Peaks. Not remotely at all.
Stranger Things is trying to be more like Joe Dante, Steven Spielberg movies from the early 80s.
Right. That's what I see. I can't stand Steven Spielberg. So when I watched it, I'm going, this is like Steven Spielberg. And
it is really good though. You should give it a shot. Even I'm a mega fan.
Okay.
Don't get into that. But I still had to start it probably 3 or 4 times. And then I forced myself to get through like up to episode 3, and then I was like, oh, okay, this is actually really good. And then now I've watched it like 7 times. So
well, getting back on track here, the response I'm seeing from this Mark Frost article is overwhelmingly positive though. I think people are just kind of keen on continuing the story, which is always what it's supposed to be, a continuing story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't want to be down on it seriously because I love the hopeful fact. I'm glad that they're at least pondering it. So I'm gonna be happy about it too. It's like I don't want them to say it's over, So.
But again, like I said, I don't think this article or anything Lynch says, around the time of the book coming out, and he's probably going to come out again saying this is Mark Frost's idea. I'm doing the show over here. Don't take those things to heart right now. I honestly think that everything that's coming out at this point is just to gauge everybody's fandom, see where we are. Are people really excited for another something in the Twin Peaks universe, or are we done? And from all accounts, it looks like it's still, pretty there. So I think Showtime and Lynch and Frost should really just kind of figure this all out because the actors and the crew are patiently waiting. They're under contract. They're under their NDAs. They want to get back to work. And I agree. Let them go back to work. And I really think that by Thanksgiving, we're going to know either what is happening or when. They might say, hey, we're confirming season 4 to come out in 2020. So we'll have that. Or they might say, hey, we're thinking about doing this. We're going to know something. Because it'll be 3 months, and they have to let the actors and the agents know like what the hell's happening. They can't just be secretive forever.
I was happy too because I called my cable company to cancel Showtime, and I was feeling guilty. and then they offered me this package. So actually, for like $3 more, I now get HBO, Cinemax, and Showtime as part of this package. For kind of a lower price than what I'd pay for them a la carte. So I didn't have to cancel it, which was really cool.
I actually canceled it.
Well, I was going to. It's just they made me an offer I couldn't refuse. So
no, I
didn't have to cancel it.
I understand. I'm just saying that I canceled it because I wanted Showtime to feel somebody leaving.
Yeah, that's why I was doing it too. I wanted that was my intent, but then I was kind of glad I didn't have to.
All right, so for our last topic, we're going to talk about is yesterday, the chapter headings for Mark Frost, The Final Dossier, came out. Did you guys see those headings? I did a video about it, and I kind of like read through what they were. Did you, Hal and Mandy, did you guys take a look at what those headings were?
Yes.
Mandy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I glanced at it quickly.
Okay.
I had one major question. I'm sure you'll bring it up.
Go ahead.
Margaret Coulson.
That makes sense.
How so?
Her maiden name as a tribute.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. That was in Mark's book. That was her maiden name. I forgot about that. Yep.
Yeah. What, Mandy?
Oh, I didn't even catch that. So, because I didn't read it close enough, because I didn't want any spoilers. So
Listen, you're on a Twin Peaks podcast. It's time for it's time for some minor spoilers. Now, listen, for those of you in the chat that are new and haven't been following this podcast for a while, when we talk about things like this, we may get into slight minor spoilers. So if you don't want to hear anything at all, leave. That being said, I'm very, very aware of what spoilers are good and bad. So I'm very cautious about that. So when I say minor spoilers, I mean, like, if you don't want to know anything, fine, but I'm not going to ruin the experience for you at all. That being said, should I go over the chapter headings one more time?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're out there. So like you said, if you don't want any spoilers, don't watch. But this stuff is out there now, officially released. So
Right. Okay, so the first contents are, now this is a little, I got kind of thrown by this because it says interoffice and then underneath it says memorandum. And I kind of introduced it like, well, interoffice could be this and memorandum could be this. No, it actually is a chapter called interoffice memorandum, but it's weird because it's like stacked on top of each other in the content. So it makes you think it's like two different things. After that, it
makes you think it's two different things. Everybody else, it was obvious it was interoffice memorandum, Ken. I got to blade crap every once in a while, man.
You do realize I have any
I know.
Right? Okay. I will send you straight to the White Lodge. All of a sudden, you won't be here anymore, and you'll be in the hamster cage.
It's because it's Halloween. The devil made me do it.
All right. The next
Oh
one.
my goodness.
Control yourself, Hal. The next chapter is called Autopsy Report, which we've already seen kind of an audio excerpt come out of it about Leo Johnson. Okay, so then it continues on. For next chapter is Shelley Johnson. Then after that is the Horns and the Haywards. Then Donna Hayward. Then Ben and Audrey Horn. Then Jerry Horn. The Double R. Annie Blackburn. Wyndham Earle. Back in Twin Peaks. Miss Twin Peaks. And then Dr. Lawrence Jacoby. Margaret Coulson Lanterman. Sheriff Harry Truman. Major Briggs. Philip Jeffries. Judy, Ray Monroe, and then the next chapter is called Today, and then finally Final Thoughts. So that sounds like one awesome book. And I can safely say that it seems very apparent after reading the first, 60 pages or so of the book, that these were originally supposed to be in the Secret History of Twin Peaks. And for whatever reason, it got excised out. I have two theories on that. One is I think they would give maybe potential clues away as to directions they might take some characters. But I also think that it builds you up for a show that doesn't exist. I mean, I read you all those names, most of which don't even show up in the new season. So in a way, it would be almost like false advertising. Mm-hmm. That being said, I think I know they did things for certain ways because obviously they want people to go in fresh. I'm really thinking, though, at this point, I could be wrong, can change my mind later, but at this point, I'm thinking it was a mistake. because even though these characters are not in the new season, I think having these characters, if we had gotten these stories before season 3, maybe we would have made a little bit more peace with not seeing them in the new season, because we would have known, like, well, we're not dealing with these people because X, Y, and Z, as opposed to staying around and thinking, where is this character? Are they ever going to mention this person? We would maybe have a little bit more context as to why they're not mentioning them. I mean, I know you guys haven't read very much of it, but are you getting that similar vibe? Or
yeah, I mean, because originally the press release for the book announced that it was going to be the secret lives of Twin Peaks, and that was going to bridge the original series with the new series, and we find out what happened to the people in those 25 years. We're getting that now after the series, but you're right. I think, you know, it would have been more interesting to have that as a ramp up to the new series. But like you said, the thinking might have been, it brings it back expectations that it's going to be cherry pie and coffee again, and that's not what we're going to deliver in the series itself. So let's hold that back and fill in the gaps after the series airs. So it makes logical sense, but as a marketing thing, you know, I think it might have been a misstep.
Yeah, I agree too, because we did, you know, because there was no information released about the show at all before it aired, before each episode aired. We still had no idea, nothing. We didn't have trailers, we didn't have anything. So we spent a lot of time wondering, oh, where's Audrey? What happened? Where's Donna? Did Leo get away from the spiders? Where's Wanda Merle? Where's Annie? All that kind of stuff. So if they had done it maybe in 2 parts, like, you know, a dossier for the main central characters, and then a second one come out after the show is aired, that's when you can talk about Judy, and you can talk about Briggs, you can talk about Ray and all that kind of stuff. That would have been good too, but give us something so that we can stay more clearly focused on the story of what's happening in this 3rd season.
All right, so we're going to talk about a couple of the chapters here. You know, we're not going to spoil anything, but we just want to kind of let you know the direction of what this is. And the first chapter we're going to talk about is the Shelley Johnson chapter. So how, Mandy, without spoiling anything, and again, these chapters are small. They're like 5 or 6 little pages. It's a very small book. It's 168 pages. What was your initial reaction reading the Shelley Johnson story in this book?
Well, I thought about you, because it says when it refers to the bar, it says known by its sign as the Bang Bang Bar, but more colloquially as the Roadhouse.
There you go.
So I immediately thought of you, Cameron.
You know what though? Frost was working on this book, so maybe he was watching our podcast, going, "Okay, I gotta satisfy both sides of the aisle here.
gotta clarify, yeah, and appease both sides." You're right.
Right. Okay. So overall, the Shelley Johnson chapter, and again, we're not going to talk about all the chapters because we haven't read them all. But the Shelley Johnson chapter, your takeaway, your overall takeaway.
It's cool. I like the way it's filling in the gaps, and it makes you kind of visualize that those 25 years and what happened to these characters. But yet there's still a large part of me that's going, you know, I hate to just read about it. I hate to just, 25 years summed up in 2 pages, and then this happened, and this happened, and this happened. I don't know how else they would have done it, but yet it somehow feels as interesting as it is. It somehow feels hollow in the same way too, where I kind of go, oh, it's kind of disappointing that we just have to read about it in 2 pages, you know.
I completely disagree.
Okay, fair enough. That's cool.
Anyway, no, empty. What else can they do? I mean,
I know, you're right. It's just, I guess it's sad that, you know, I don't know.
You know what?
I have mixed feelings.
Well, you know what I got mixed feelings about? I got mixed feelings that we have more character depth into Shelley Johnson in these 5 pages than we did in the entire limited event series.
Right. That's where the kind of the mixed feelings come in. And why am I reading this? Why don't we show that in somehow, you know?
Right. Okay. Mandy, your overall impressions of the Shelley Johnson chapter.
Same thing. Like I liked it. I liked the imagery that you could, or kind of the new dreams that you could dream with the information given. But it was short, and yeah, I just, like I had said to you, and I don't mean to sound offensive or anything, but we got more Twin Peaks in those few pages than we did in like at least 3 hours of the 18-part run. And that it just kind of sucked a little bit that, you could have focused on this. You could have talked more about this stuff. But again, my general complaint with the show that I've had is that it wasn't Twin Peaksy enough. So,
but I don't think, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
that's okay.
But I don't think what I've read so far plays like, well, we're just going to throw some coffee and pie nostalgia at people. And, season 3 is going to be its own, crazy thing. But this is just going to be a return in nostalgia. I don't want people to think that like, oh, because we're in the world of Twin Peaks here, in the town of Twin Peaks, that's what makes it good. No, what makes it good is that it's logically written. There are surprises, there are character surprises that make sense, if not logically, emotionally, which is what Twin Peaks was always to me. Even if things didn't make sense logically, emotionally, it felt correct. And I think one of the things that threw people a lot, let's say in this new series, is that the first time you see part 18, the reason why it took so many people out of the show is because Dale Cooper and Diane just banging each other in a motel did not feel correct, right? It was like, that's interesting. What on earth is happening here? Mm-hmm. Whereas when you're reading these chapters, you are back in the world of Twin Peaks, and it just makes narrative sense why things are happening.
Part of me wishes it wasn't in the format of the first book too, which lends to your theory that it was excised from the original thing because it's done in that same format, and that makes total sense. But there's a part of me that wishes it had been totally rewritten in just a narrative format. Here's a chapter and here's what it is, and it's like more of a fiction book that way structurally, rather than this dossier thing format with Tammy Preston telling us what happened, reporting to Gordon Cole or whatever.
Whoa! It is Tamara or Tamara Preston in the book. It's Tammy in the series.
Okay, but her reporting to Gordon. Here's what happened to Shelley. And I'd rather have just seen it unfold in a standard narrative sense rather than this weird dossier format.
There's one thing I will spoil for people in the chat. It's a minor spoiler. Because yesterday I was theorizing like, hey, this might take us right up to where the new series begins. I don't know about the other chapters, but in terms of the Shelley Johnson chapter, it does not. So there is no mention of Red, just so you know.
Do you think that the chapter, the final thoughts, and I hate to have that word final dossier, final thoughts, it's so final, but I wonder if there will be any teasers, that may give us more hope for further stories. Do you think it'll wrap up and say, now we've closed the book on this era of Twin Peaks or whatever? Do you think that similarly to season 3, it will end with some sort of open hanging things that give us hope for more?
No, because this will be Mark Frost's interpretation of Twin Peaks, and David Lynch won't run with any of those questions. So probably not. But overall, I was really impressed with the Shelley Johnson chapter. And listen, I like Shelley Johnson as a character, but I'm not like goo goo gaga. Like I'm everything, Shelley Johnson, but I thought it was very well written and I thought it was very well told. And there were definitely some character surprises that at first I was like, well, that is an interesting way to take her character or suggest about her character. But then it made sense as it continued on. And I was on board with that. Mm-hmm. But no, I was like, wow, if the rest of the book is like this is going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
The second chapter I'm going to talk about, because I know you two hadn't read it, and that is called The Horns and the Haywards.
It's like the Hatfields and the McCoys.
Right. Listen, this chapter more or less tells you everything. I mean, you pretty much know a lot of it already, and it's the night that Will Hayward came home and Donna was crying and he punched Ben Horn and he hit the fireplace and and Will dropped to the ground and was screaming. It kind of follows what happens then. Will Hayward takes Ben Horn to the hospital, and something that Tamara Preston suggests in the book is, well, Audrey's in the hospital from the bank explosion, and Ben Horn goes to visit her and then leaves apparently to visit the Haywards, and then returns back to the hospital soon after with a similar head concussion wound. And she's wondering why Will Hayward is the one that brought him back, and Will Hayward was also his doctor treating the wound and everything like that. And it really kind of gets into a conspiracy thing as to what is perhaps happening between the Horns and the Haywards. But we already know the answer. The idea was that Ben Horn had the affair with Eileen. But this chapter goes on to kind of give us a hint as to what happened after, what happened with the Haywards, what happened with all the daughters. It answers a little bit about Donna, which of course will be into the next chapter. The next chapter is called Donna Hayward. Yeah, I really liked it. It does touch on Audrey in the hospital, very, very briefly. But that's fine because there's another chapter later on called Ben and Audrey Horn, which I haven't read, but I'm sure that will get a little bit more in depth about that.
Is it weird though when like I said, it's because it's narrated by Tamara Preston. So is it weird when we have knowledge that she doesn't, and she's speculating like this theory about the twin head wounds? When we already know. I mean, that seems sort of pointless to structure it that way too.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, again, it's stuff we already know, but I think again, this comes into my idea of it also being a part of the secret history of Twin Peaks, because the idea was to bring people back up to speed as to where we were.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And now to get this information post season 3, it's like, well, we already know this, and 2, it has no relevance at all on the new season. So, so that's what I'm saying. Like, it was kind of a mistake for it not to come out before.
Yeah.
But I understand why they kept it. That being said, I really think the Secret History of Twin Peaks kind of split a lot of fans as to, like, they liked it, they didn't like it, or they tolerated it, or that many things in between. I think if this stuff had been in the original book, as was, like you said, originally advertised as being, I think the book would have gone over a whole lot better, because nobody needs 50 pages about Lewis and Clark, but if we'd gotten 10 pages about Shelley Johnson, I would have been okay with that.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm running this episode over in my head, but them saying that Ben was with Audrey during the day and then returned that night, that doesn't actually link up with the episode, because
it totally does.
That stuff all happened the night of the Miss Twin Peaks pageant, and the bank explosion happened after. Right?
No. Because
Audrey was at both, and Donna came in with her stupid updo pageant hair.
Wait a minute. But that happened during the Lynch episode that he directed, which is post the pageant.
Yeah, the episode starts with Andy and Lucy, and it's after
You're
the
right.
pageant had happened.
You're right, because Ben Horn gets hit out, and then it's daytime, and then we see the Audrey scene.
Yeah. So
he would have been knocked out prior. You are right. And people in the chat are agreeing with you. Yeah, I was trying to think of the timeline of that. Does make sense. But then again, Frost's original book was narratively all crazy in terms of dates and times and names.
But there's only so much jimble jabble we can, like, us as fans and as experts, that we can deal with without going insane and just saying to heck with all of you. Like, if you're going to write a book about it, watch the show first, take your notes. And with the other thing too, like with the moment in the Shelley story, which I will not repeat, but it's freaking awesome. Did anybody did Mark Frost check with another Twin Peaks book that was written? Does that actually fit? But anyway,
are you listen, without getting into spoilers, are you referring to the Bobby, Shelley, Laura dynamic?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. I mean,
so you're saying that jives with Secret Diary?
Does it? That's my question.
Well, look, I mean, the Agent Cooper diary completely goes against what Fire Walk With Me shows us, right?
Well,
Right.
that book was just dumb. But
well, I mean, listen, Scott Frost, I think he did a good job, but you could definitely tell the difference between what Jennifer Lynch did with Laura Palmer's diary. She took it seriously, like as an artist.
Yeah.
And Scott Frost kind of cranked it out as a merchandise book. You could kind of tell the difference.
Yeah.
Reggie in the chat says, Mandy, you probably discovered this is a real plot hole and not one on purpose like the other book. Good job, Mandy.
Thanks.
Because
I literally have just been sitting here for like 5 minutes. I'm like, no, Donna had that crazy hair and Audrey was at the pageant.
Yeah. It's funny because when I was reading it, I was just kind of in the moment reading it, and it didn't even like dawn on me that's like, oh my goodness, because I thought it was at nighttime that it happened like that night after the bank vault. But no, you're right.
Because everybody's in their tuxedos. Will's in his tuxedo. Eileen's in her dress that looks like a house coat.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Mark Frost isn't going to like hearing about this, so nobody tweet him about this.
He'll just say it's the unreliability of people's memories and how history is fallible that way. And
oh, you mean the classic the classic thing of when you don't have an answer to say is it future or is it past?
Or just say who is the dreamer?
Yes, exactly. And I kid, but it is a very convenient way of doing narrative wrap up. It's like I was telling Frank yesterday. George says Audrey didn't take part in the pageant. Oh yes, she did. She gave
the speech about the trees.
Yes, exactly. I was telling Frank yesterday after we recorded, I said one of the great things about Twin Peaks is whenever they needed to get out of a scene and they couldn't figure out how to get out of a scene, they would just cut to the waterfall. Just a big fat close up of that water, and that was our way out. And cue the Badalamenti music, and then it would dissolve to, Leo Johnson with his birthday hat on. Oh, by the way, since you guys didn't know, the other day was Mandy's birthday, so happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Mandy!
Thank you. It was a great day.
Yay!
George says Sherilyn Fenn wasn't a contestant in the Miss Twin Peaks because she thought the whole Miss Twin Peaks stuff was terrible, but she still was part of it. People in the chat are freaking out, wondering where on earth we got these pages of the book. I'll never tell. Actually, I will, but I won't say who. Somebody on Twitter posted it.
Well, I think in the UK or something, they released 47 pages as part of like a Kindle thing or whatever, so you could preview it or buy it. So the preview was
that's like half the book, though.
Yeah. It is. Like I said, you get the inter-office memorandum, the autopsy report, Shelley Johnson, and the Horns and the Haywards. That's what I've read so far.
Okay.
And it was fast. It took me 30 minutes or so to read those 4 chapters. But that's because it was a page turner. I just wanted to see more and more and more. But Mandy, I can't believe you found that plot hole. That is fantastic.
Well, everybody would have eventually, once they,
dissected it.
when you can sit and think about it, it's like, oh wait, that doesn't actually work. But
it is a shame about Twin Peaks having those kind of holes and stuff in it, because intentional or not, I mean, we'd love to see everything dovetail together nicely, especially when you have authors that meticulously research things and series that meticulously pay attention to their own continuity and things like that. I mean, it is a shame Twin Peaks doesn't have that aspect, because it would make it so much better to turn people on to,
And it hasn't from the very beginning. I mean, even in the first season, they still could get, who had the AB negative blood type.
Right.
Things like that. They switched that twice.
Oh, and don't forget that Catherine Martell went from Catherine with a K to Catherine with a C in the credits. It would say, and Piper Laurie as Catherine Martell in the opening pilot, and then as the series went on, it changed to Catherine C-A-T-H.
Oh,
yeah.
I never noticed that.
Yeah.
I still love the story that the reason they called her Catherine is just because they wanted Jack Nance to have to say Catherine, because he was married to Catherine Coulson.
So we have somebody in the chat calling out to the vlog lady right now, saying, please, vlog lady, if you're there, the cynicism and arrogance of this podcast is growing. The wind is howling. Vlog lady, if you're there, please do a video. So,
well,
sorry that we're like speaking truth.
Yeah, that's pretty mean.
I'm excited about the book coming out. It's just
there's
a bit of fatigue with it all. I mean, I must admit, and I don't mean to I don't feel down about it. It's just like, wait till the book comes out, and then I'll be voracious like you were, Cameron, with the preview.
Cynic Kill 1 says David Lynch disregards the books in terms of continuity. He also disregards the show itself as continuity.
Disregards continuity altogether.
Listen. He made, and I say this with love, he made so many continuity errors in Fire Walk with Me that I think either he did it purposely or he took it to an art form, because I haven't seen that many continuity errors since Goodfellas. It was insane. But yeah, so let's see here. But yeah, overall, I really like the way the book is going. Like I said yesterday, I'm very nervous about the Annie Blackburn chapter and the Miss Twin Peaks chapter, because that, where he decides to take the characters, like I said, I really like the way it's written. So I have trust that, Frost knows what he's doing with the characters. I just, on a selfish level, I would like to make my fan film, and probably what he's going to write is going to negate what I want to do. And that will be a total bummer, because I was getting so excited getting to do it. And I know I am not going to do something that negates what they're doing, because that would drive me nuts. So I'm hoping that there's maybe a few more continuity errors in those chapters that I can get around.
Or to turn it from the cynical and negative, it'll open up new possibilities for your project and give you new ideas. So now I'm trying to be positive, because the chat hates us.
They don't hate us. They don't, even though George is saying there's much negativity in this chat. And 402 says David Lynch doesn't understand continuity. No, I think he does. I just don't think he cares.
Right. It's not that important to him.
But you know what, though? It used to. Even though he is similar as, I mean, he's never really, I mean, he's changed as an artist, but he's also still David Lynch. If you look at David Lynch doing The Return, it's not the same David Lynch that made Blue Velvet. That's a different David Lynch. It's the same. It's the same artist.
He always says, everything must be correct. Everything must be true to the idea and stuff like that. So you'd think continuity would play a part in that.
But emotion for him wins over continuity. The idea, if he gets an idea to have some jumping man going down the stairs, but the jumping man wasn't even born yet in the universe, he doesn't give a crap. He's just going to throw jumping man down the stairs. I mean,
but according to his own internal logic, that still has to feel correct within the world for some reason. So there has to be a purpose to it. And that requires continuity on some level. I don't get how the two don't work together.
I don't know. I mean, it's like, even with Fire Walk With Me, the continuity errors between that and the series, like you could still kind of find your way through them, and be like, okay, well, this makes sense. This, this everything. I mean, the thing that gets me is, the fact. Oh my God, I don't. Do I even want to go here? The fact is that they went off the pilot. You're talking about how Mark Frost, maybe remembered the events and then wrote this chapter not remembering the order of things in terms of the Miss Twin Peaks pageant and stuff like that. Well, same thing happened with Lynch and Bob Engels. I mean, they flat out said that, except for a few other things, they primarily just watched the pilot so that things would connect to the pilot, right? So in the pilot, when Sarah says to Sheriff Truman, I heard Laura's phone ring once. Well, in Fire Walk With Me, her phone rings once and Laura answers the phone. And it's James trying to make the date, right? But if you paid attention to the series, you know that phone call came from Leland Palmer in Ben Horne's office, and they traced the call. Do you think that's going to stop Lynch? No, he's going to have it be James Hurley making that call. That, I remember being in the theater going, what? Like
what
that,
the hell?
that is, I mean, I understand that's shorthand, but come on, that was a major plot thing. They traced the phone call to Ben Horne's office. That is why Ben Horne was suspect number one, besides the fact that, the One-Eyed Jacks connection, all that. And then they say in the hallway, it was Leland who placed that call from Ben Horne's office. They say it as they're arresting him when he's in the cell. But Tim Hunter directed that episode, so Lynch had no memory of it. So we're going to make it James Hurley. Oh my goodness. But anyway, like I've said a million times, I mean, Lynch, he just goes with his gut, and that's what I love about him.
Oh, yeah.
But what he kind of needs is go from the gut, and then he needs to have somebody with him say, that's really great, David. We can make this work. We just have to have this I dotted and this T crossed, but we can get what you want in this. But in order for it to make some sort of structural sense, right, we have to lay down a foundation for you to spring off of, which is why I think Blue Velvet, Wild at Heart, and Twin Peaks originally work so well. There's a foundation of normalcy, a foundation where we see ourselves, we see our hometowns, we see, people we grew up with, and then from that, everything is taken to a new level. And that Lynch has moved on, good or bad. I mean, I'm just saying that Lynch he has moved on as an artist.
Yes,
he's not going to do that, which is why I loved season 3, because it just began crazy, because that's where we left off at the end of season 2 and Fire Walk With Me. So that would make sense. We have to begin how we left off. It would be weird if we just began in normalcy again and then we sprung off. It had to begin in the Black Lodge or the White Lodge or wherever, the Gray Lodge, wherever the hell we were. But that to me is why it was so cool. That being said, I wish the Agent Cooper stuff and all the Dougie stuff and all that was exactly the way it is. But then when we went back to Twin Peaks, we went back to the normalcy. And so we would have that contrast. It's just we weren't in Twin Peaks long enough to even engage with the characters. It felt like, and again, This might sound like a complaint, and I'm not trying to complain because this was obviously their intention. But I'm just saying, as a fan, I wish that there was a little bit more in there. It seemed like whenever we saw characters, especially like in Twin Peaks, it felt like the characters were characters we knew and we loved, but this time we were observing them through, you know, what do you call those things? A microscope. And so it wasn't like we were invested. We weren't engaged with the characters like on a one-to-one level like we were in the original series or even Lynch's earlier films. We were always like 2 or 3 steps removed, and we were just kind of observing them. Like almost like it didn't matter like if they were at the diner or they got shot or Bobby was, you know, looking at a kid throwing up in a car. It didn't matter. We were just kind of watching scenes play out with these characters, but we weren't like engaged in the Bobby Briggs story arc. There was no story there.
Yeah, a lot of it was kind of cold and clinical. And then when you'd have those flourishes of emotions, like, you know, I am the FBI and, you know, Big Ed and Norma and, you know, what was another one? Oh, Bobby seeing Laura's picture and even you know, Nadine with Ed, that scene was pretty moving, I thought. You know,
right,
so but those stood out because the rest of it seemed to be like removed and distant, like you said.
But the thing is, though, is that we got fragments of those scenes. We did not get like a full character arc. People were saying, Jacobs in the chat saying, well, everybody was invested in Cooper coming back. Yeah, he's the only one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was the only character that you were fully invested in because he was the one we spent the most time with.
But like the Roadhouse scenes and stuff too, you know, which was this place of like, you know, this almost haunted, you know, spiritual place, you know, it just turned into this, you know, these creeps sitting there.
Yeah, there were no owls in the Roadhouse. There were just girls with rashes.
Just creeps, man.
And again, this is
good bands though, but you know,
to me, again, I don't look at this as a complaint. I look at this as like me observing what they gave us.
Right. Like you said, everything they gave us was intentional. So, you know, if we sound dark and cynical, I mean, come on, some of that material is very dark and cynical. It's like, this is what's happened to Twin Peaks, whether it was the doppelganger running rampant that caused this pall upon the town, or whether it was Laura's death, still casting that pall. But there was a darkness and a cynicism to, you know, what happened to this town,
and angry politics too, in terms of like everybody live in poor mobile homes. You know, even Janie says, you know, we're the 99 percenters. You know, there was a lot of that in there.
I mean, poor Carl Rod in his 90s was, you know, trying to fight against the darkness in his own sweet way, you know, but, you know, playing a little bit of Red River Valley, man, didn't offset the overwhelming gloom that was in the town, man.
Right. And I kind of look at it myself as, yes, the doppelganger is free loose, so the Black Lodge kind of has more of an influence over the community.
Mm-hmm.
But I also look at it as Cooper, you know, went back in time and saved Laura. So right there, that's throwing off continuity and things like that in terms of like I think about the diners flipping around and stuff. You know,
right.
He's already played with time. Of course, you don't know this when you're watching it, but I'm saying looking back, you can kind of right. I get the sense that time has already been screwed with because Cooper has gone back once, maybe twice, to do this.
So that can explain any continuity errors because the timeline's so higgledy-piggledy at this point.
And that's where I get into the is it future, is it past thing. It's just convenient,
right?
And it's fantastic to have that kind of narrative crutch to go on. But that being said, like it was fully intentional not to give Bobby, Shelley story arcs, to give you know a meaningful scene between Red and Shelley, so we understand that relationship, right? I mean, we get hints of it, but we don't get like a full. I mean, Red talks to Richard Horn more than he does Shelley, and he's supposedly dating Shelley, so we don't get any of that. And again, that was intentional. And I think the actors did a great job for having literally, no offense, no characters to play. I mean, they basically just went back on automatic pilot of, okay, this is how I see the character at this point in their life. And again, we were dropping in on these characters for little fragments, but the only one person we got an overall story was Cooper and Gordon, Albert, and Tammy. Like they were like the main characters of the whole series.
It almost seems like their whole intention was, okay, we take these beloved characters. Now it's 25 years later, so you're that character, except you behave nothing like you used to. Now go, you know.
And like we've said many times, these actors obviously are so good at what they do that they were able to pull it off with such little material.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
or no context, no explanation of, you know, like Audrey, you know, I'm sure she came in and looked at her lines and went, wow.
No, she looked at her lines and then took to Twitter.
Right.
And then they went and knocked on her trailer and said, excuse me, Miss Fenn, you are not allowed to use social media until the end of the series.
Right.
So yeah, it's, you know, it's fascinating because
it is.
You can look at like so many other movies and TV shows and be like, you know what, that person has no idea what they're doing. And, you know, so that's why the show was a mess, blah, blah, blah. But Lynch and Frost are, you know, they're geniuses in my opinion. Yeah. So I look at it as like, well, everything is intentional, right? They had so long to edit this thing. Mm-hmm. So why did they make these choices? I mean, people say the same thing about Stanley Kubrick movies. You know, he's so methodical. So if there's a continuity error, it must be because Stanley Kubrick planned for it to be there.
Exactly.
You know, it's things like that. And
yeah, you don't write out the actual instructions to the zero gravity toilet when it's only going to be seen for like 2 seconds on screen, and you could never read it. But he actually wrote those full instructions out.
Right.
That's meticulous.
And so, you know, I think that's it just for me, is that I think Lynch he's one of the few artists that can get away with this, which is completely perhaps just screw up and do everything wrong. And everyone still looks at it and goes, genius. It's amazing. Right.
Well, that's what his detractors, you know, accuse the hardcore fans of. Lynch could take a dump and people would say it's genius, you know. I mean, I understand that. I'm a huge Beatles fan, you know. Seriously, if John Lennon farted, I'd have a bootleg of it, you know. But that, you know.
Wow. Please, somebody get a recording of that and send it to Hal. They can reach you via Facebook.
But, you know, so I understand. I'm that way with Lynch. I kind of love everything he's done.
Well, see, I love it too.
I'm more forgiving of it, I guess, maybe.
But I mean, let's just be honest here. If J.J. Abrams had made Twin Peaks: The Return, do you think people would be giving him the same respect that they're giving Lynch? No.
If Steven Spielberg would have directed season 2, episode 1.
Which he was supposed to.
Right. I might have bailed out on it at that point. Not being a Spielberg fan, that would have bummed me out.
Right. It's just, you know what, and that's why I love these kind of discussions, because especially 2 months removed from, you know, the limited event series ending, because this is what we have at the moment to engage in. And especially if they are going to come back and do a season 4 or standalone movie or whatever they end up doing, and they will end up doing something, believe me. It's fascinating to just kind of figure out, like, where are we now and where they could go from here. You know, that was a Buffy reference, by the way.
What direction would a season 4 even take at this point?
The honest answer to that is, Twin Peaks is so vast right now in terms of, we're not even in Twin Peaks half the time.
Yeah.
That, you know, they could take this wherever they wanted to.
Literally anywhere. Yeah.
And especially if it is a new world, a new thing, and they basically erase the events of seasons 1 and 2 with the actions they did, then they have no continuity anymore to adhere to. They can just do whatever they want. Richard and Carrie Page can go to Paris and hang out with Monica Bellucci.
Yeah. Jack Nance actually has gone fishing. He didn't find anybody.
Reggie is saying how you need to start a Beatles video podcast.
Yeah. What can I say about the Beatles that hasn't already been said in 5,000 books written about them, though?
So, let's kind of wrap this up. Mandy, let's start with you. What do you think of everything that you've heard today, from the Blu-ray announcement to the Mark Frost to the Shelley Johnson chapter you read of the final dossier? It's a lot to take in on a random Thursday.
Yeah, it is. I can't wait for. I'm excited to say that I'm excited for the book, because I still haven't finished the first one. So that was just exciting, and they've already, in the titles, have given us stuff that I actually really want to read about. I don't want to read about Lewis and Clark and all that kind of stuff. So, and I will go back and finish it eventually. But yeah, I'm super excited about the book. I think that's going to be a seemingly good and easy read that will allow our imaginations to kind of move around again, like maybe in the ways that we originally wanted it to before season 3 happened, just dealing with Twin Peaks and stuff. So, and the Blu-ray, I mean, I cannot wait. I loved that clip. I watched it a few times today. I just thought it was beautifully shot and informative. And if they're giving us 10 little movies that are half an hour each for all of this stuff, like, I can't wait to see what's on there. So I'm super excited. It's all good.
What about you, Hal?
So let me ask you both. When the Blu-ray set comes out, obviously we'll watch all the extras probably first. Now, will you watch the series in its entirety again?
Right away?
Yeah, like within the first month that you have this.
You know what though? I'll probably actually do it in chunks. Like, I loved that first night when I watched 4 episodes in a row.
Yeah,
that was amazing.
Yeah,
I thought that was just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I did too.
And it spoiled me because the next week I had to wait. Well, I had to wait a week, and then we got 1 episode, and that felt like a jip.
Yeah. I think that's why I didn't binge it. Well, first of all, it was late, but I watched 2 and then 2 the next night.
Yeah,
I was satisfied with that.
But yeah,
I can't wait to watch it like that. And Hal, your girlfriend hasn't seen it yet, right? Still?
She hasn't seen it. No, and I was talking to her about it the other day, and I go, "So you're gonna watch it when the Blu-ray set comes out?" She goes, I don't know. She's like, I don't know. I kind of now wish I would have watched it as it unfolds, and you've told me enough about it where I'm not in any hurry. And I'm like, it's gonna make me sad because I really wanted to share it with her. But
that would have been a fun experience.
Yeah, now she sort of seems like disinterested. So I'm not going to force it on her, because it is a commitment, and it's. So
it's a commitment that for some people it didn't pay off.
Doesn't pay off, and I worry about that because she's really a busy person, and time is of the essence, kind of thing, So for her to devote that big of a chunk of time, if she's really not psyched about it, I don't want to push it.
I feel weird saying this kind of stuff, but it does pay off in terms of there's so many emotional payoffs in it. Yeah. It just doesn't pay off with any of the plot strands.
Right. It leaves you hanging.
Yeah, very much so. You know what though? I'm not going to be one of these people though that just tries to sit and watch the whole thing in one sitting. I'll never be that. No. Nor will I be somebody who tries to do 6 episodes in a row.
No, there's no point to that. Why force yourself?
No, but what's really weird? When I was younger, and the season 1 and 2 were on, especially season 2 when they moved it to Saturday nights at 10:00, I would invite. Sometimes I'd watch it by myself, and sometimes I'd have like friends come over, and we'd have a sleepover like that, and but we would watch like 5 or 6 of the episodes that I had recorded that would lead up to the one at 10:00 at night, and we would just kind of do that. As much as I love season 3, it just, and again, this is not a complaint, and I feel weird because I always have to like apologize before I say something controversial. I don't think it has the rewatchability of season 1 and 2. There are scenes in it that are so perfect. I can rewatch those scenes over and over and over and over and over and over again. I'm just saying, as a whole, I will watch season 1 and 2 any day of the week. Season 3, you kind of have to build yourself up for it, I think. I think because I just love just the atmosphere of season 1 and 2, where it's like this beautiful town and it's very warm and safe, but also scary underneath. And season 3 is just distant, cold, and scary all the time.
All over the place. Where the first 2 seasons, it was concentrated. Like, we only had a little bubble, not 15 bubbles all over the world, kind of thing. So
people are, of course, disagreeing in the chat, saying season 3 has rewatchability. Of course it has rewatchability. I'm just saying, for the vast majority of people, I don't care how much I love season 3, and I do. But an episode of season 1 and season 2, I don't care even if it's the worst episode of season 2, it will move faster for me than an episode of season 3.
I think season 1 and 2 are so familiar because we've had all this time to ponder that it's rewatchable at random. So you can just tune it in any place and you go, oh yeah, here's where we're at, and I love this scene. But I think this one I will rewatch in chronological order in its entirety, starting with episode 1 through 18. I will watch it just because of the picture and sound. I want to see it in that way, but I won't binge watch it. I'll still watch it maybe one episode and then wait a couple of days to watch episode 2, kind of thing. But I'll get through it in chronological order in its entirety one more time.
Now, what season 3 has over seasons 1 and 2 is more things to analyze.
Yes.
Compared to season 3, season 1 and 2, there's nothing to analyze in that series. Season 3, we were pulling every scene apart. We were analyzing timelines. Where in this, show does this take place? Is Rancho Rosa even a real location? Is it in the mind? Is it part of the Black Lodge? What is happening here? Because of the disconnectedness of it, there is so much we were tearing apart the Rancho Rosa logos. Okay. When I watched the original series on TV, I was fully engaged, fully loving it. I was intrigued and fascinated by the mysteries and all the stuff happening to it. But I never was, I never pulled it apart like this show. This show demanded you to analyze it because that's the only way the payoffs were going to work is by analyzing. Because, listen, season 1 and 2, even the worst episodes, you can sit and show it to anybody. And people will either say, I really like it, I don't like it, whatever, but it's something you can fully engage with. I can show Twin Peaks to my mom. I can watch season 1 with my mom. My mom will be like, this is a great mystery. This is a great show. Even as weird as it is, she could get into it on that mystery level. Season 3 is only as good as what you bring to it.
Yeah.
If you go into it and you're like, you know what, this is just crap, that's what you're going to take from it. If you push past all the coldness of it and look for the clues, dive into it and just savor any nugget of anything you can find in it, then you are rewarded tenfold. And that's where I think, in terms of rewatchability, that's why I say season 1 and 2 has a leg over it, because you can kind of kick back and relax and watch it from just a relaxed point of view. Season 3, you have to be sitting up, fully alert and engaged. You can't just kick back and you can, I guess, but it's just, does that make any sense whatsoever?
Sure it does. There's lots of musical artists like Frank Zappa. You can't put that on as background music. You got to be fully engaged or else it'll sound like a nightmare. If you tune in and listen to it, though, it's genius, So it's like that with Twin Peaks. You have to be fully engaged in it, especially, like you said, season 3. Seasons 1 and 2, more like a tone poem. It's kind of like, it's got this feel to it, and the characters are quirky and weird, and there's all these mysteries, and then it's, scary, and then it's funny. But yeah, season 3, it's like you've got to engage in every moment and watch the subtleties and what the unspoken things are.
And the other thing, the fact that Lynch did not, on purpose, again, truly utilize Angelo Badalamenti's talent,
right,
in this series,
doesn't tell you what to feel.
Exactly, exactly. So you weren't like, whether it be the original series or Fire Walk with Me, Badalamenti was underscoring that whole thing. Almost every frame, there was very little silence in that series and in that movie. There's almost nothing but silence in this new series, except for the Roadhouse scenes and a few little callbacks to Fire Walk with Me.
You mean the Bang Bang Bar, known colloquially as the Roadhouse?
Like I said, Mark Frost he's wanting to sell books, so he has to play both sides of the fence. But I think this book is honestly, dare I say, I think this book is going to sell better than The Secret History of Twin Peaks. I really do, because I think people will read it and be like, hey, you know what? You're a Twin Peaks fan. You'll like this book. And this book will be in a lot of people's stockings this year.
As soon as you open up and look at the title page, a huge group of fans are just automatically going to want that. So I totally agree with that.
And the fact that
it's going to do great. And
it takes it to another level by as it goes on, it says Philip Jeffries, Judy, right? Now, what's fascinating about this, Philip Jeffries and Judy, these are two characters that David Lynch created with Bob Engels. Mark Frost had nothing to do with those characters. So I'm fascinated to see his take on Philip Jeffries. His take on Judy. Because remember, I mean, when Fire Walk with Me was created, Judy in the sequel was supposed to be Josie's sister, which is why I was convinced that Nido was Judy, because I thought that's how they were going to tie in Josie, and I thought that the noise of the Great Northern was going to be a callback to Josie. We were wrong. So
even though that theory actually makes perfect sense.
Yes.
Like, it does totally work. But
right. And again, like I said the other day,
well, it doesn't mean it wasn't that. They just never explained it.
Right. But we know that Nido was not Josie's sister. It was Diane.
Right.
Somehow became a blind Asian woman.
But I mean, the sound that Ben Horn was hearing, that could have been Josie in the wood.
And that's what I was hoping.
Yeah.
But then I heard that noise in the hospital room too when Cooper was laying down. So I don't think Josie moved his way over to Las Vegas,
floating around.
She's in the doorknob. Wake up!
The drawer pull.
Oh yeah.
That's a continuity error, Cameron. It's not a doorknob.
Yeah. But overall, minor complaints and all. I mean, I really, really loved the whole experience of season 3. And, I look back on season 1 and 2, not so much also because I love the show, but I remember that being such a wonderful time around friends and, calling each other on the phone. Hey, what do you think of this? Or what do you think of that?
Yep.
I can't believe in my adult way, we were kind of able to recreate all that over the summer on these podcasts. I mean, we were doing 3 or 4 podcasts a week. The instant reactions with you, Hal, the watch alongs with you, Mandy, and others. And then we would do the thoughts of the day and that type of thing. And the up and down roller coaster with the fans, with everybody, throwing out their opinions and things like that. I mean, we took those phone calls that we would have back in 1990 to a worldwide level. I mean, I that's the thing. Yes, I miss Twin Peaks Sunday nights. 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That was the most absurd time ever. 8 o'clock for you, Hal. That was awesome for you. But 5 o'clock for me. But what I miss the most is talking with you guys every week.
For sure. I mean, that whole experience, it was just like the original when we talked to our friends about it. I mean, I couldn't believe all summer. I was just fast. Every time I tune in and the credits would start, I'd go, I can't believe I'm watching a new episode of Twin Peaks directed by David Lynch every Sunday night. It's like it was too good to be true. Yeah. I even halfway through the series, I still couldn't believe it. Every time when I tune in, I'm like, a new episode of Twin Peaks. It was just so much fun, man.
And you never knew what you were gonna get.
No.
I mean, nobody.
It was nobody was
prepared. Nobody was prepared for part 8.
No.
Nobody.
Like you said, it was that moment when the title credit fades out and you had that little bit of wind and it was black before the first scene started, and you're just going, what are we gonna see, man? What's that first image gonna be, man? So fun.
And that was the scariest part of every episode for me was what are they gonna fade up on? And you know, and nothing scared me more than that initial first episode. Because after the credits rolled, and we went to black, I was like, "Oh my god, what I'm about to see is the first new image of Twin Peaks." Not counting the opening credits.
Yeah,
you know, the first new image of Twin Peaks. What is it going to be?
And even the opening credits, I was just going, "Oh man, that's perfect. It's perfect so far. It's perfect so far."
With the wavy,
and the floor, you know, and it was a little longer than the subsequent ones, you know.
Right, but
then, like you said, that anticipation for what's the first image going to be.
Yeah, and it was the giant, aka the fireman.
And I was like, couldn't be better.
You know, Agent Cooper.
I was just going, sweet, perfect.
But it was like right away, you just knew, like right then in the first 5 minutes of the show, you were like, David Lynch don't give a shit. Like we're it's not about bringing in new viewers anymore. It's about leaving where the fans left off. Let's go.
It was perfect.
And of course, being Lynchian, you know, that scene ends up being the opening more for season 4 than it does season 3. Richard and Linda, and he goes, I understand.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you understand because it happened after what we just watched at the end of part 18.
Yeah.
Good job. So anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Hey, always a pleasure. And again, happy Halloween.
Oh, one more thing, Hal. Have you popped in your Criterion Fire Walk with Me?
I have not yet. I should have done that so I could tell you about the sound sync things, but I will try to do that. I have a few days off here, so I'll try to do that over the next couple of days.
Right, because I haven't watched. I think for Halloween I'll watch the interviews. Give myself something to watch. So, Mandy, I know you're excited because Stranger Things 2 comes out pretty soon, right?
Tomorrow. Yep.
It's tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I know what you're going to be doing. You won't be on this podcast for a while.
Nope. Or just at least 10 hours.
Now. Yeah. Looking at that, are you a fan of the Netflix model of all of them at once? Or did you like the Twin Peaks thing of one every week?
I loved how they did Twin Peaks. That's, just reminiscing and thinking back to this, like it was such an exciting time. Like we met new friends, we had discussions, we had, people that were on kind of the same brain level as us when it comes to this show that have been waiting so long. We all had this commonality, right? And just the plain excitement of every single episode, never knowing from second to second what you were going to get, zero context. You just go in it's like jumping off a cliff every week. And it was really, really exciting. And I loved like 99% of what we got. Like it was so good. So I digress, but with everything else, I don't care if it drops all at once, but this was special. This was them. That was like a gift to us that we could really enjoy and take our time with it.
And look, I love the idea that we got 4 episodes that first night. Thought it was great. I gotta tell you though, if they had given us the whole series in that first day, and let's say it took us a day or two to get through it all, because I would have called out sick for work and just watch the whole thing, we wouldn't have had the summer that we had. It would have been over. And I think that you needed to analyze it, even though, like I said, a lot of it was what you brought, what you brought into it is what you got out of it. I think that would have completely ruined the whole thing if you were just, because you wouldn't have been analyzing it, and thinking about it and dreaming about it and all that stuff. It's like how people watch Lost now, right? They watch it on Netflix or Blu-rays or whatever. And I've had people tell me, oh yeah, I watched Lost. Got it done. It took me about 3 weeks. Got the whole series done. And I'm like, that's one experience of it. The other experience is 6 long years thinking about every episode week by week. And to me, something like Lost is something like Twin Peaks, which is, the analyzation of it is what helped that show be what it was. If you did it all in 3 weeks, it's so not the same experience.
Right. It's one way to do it, but it's not the experience that you had watching it unfold and listening to Lindelof and Hughes do their podcasts in between and talking to your friends about it the next day at work. And it's a whole different experience.
Or spending, your mornings on Lostpedia.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. And, I'm not comparing Lost to Twin Peaks at all. I'm just saying that when a show is so enriched in mythology and mysteries, you kind of need that processing time in between an episode.
Yeah. Instant gratification is not what Twin Peaks is about, so to drop it all at once like that would have been like, ODing on Halloween candy. It's like you don't want it all at once too much.
And you know what? If they had dropped it all by Monday, the think pieces would have come out saying the new Twin Peaks is a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
Or they'd say, oh, it's a masterpiece or it's a disaster. And yes, I understand we get that now. But it would have been it would have been just insane between all the think pieces. Is great. It's a masterpiece. It's terrible. And then all the Twitter people screaming about it. It just would have been a noisy thing. And I would have had to stay off the internet for like a month because it just would have been insane. This way it was more paced. And, I mean, now that you've seen it, you can have the Blu-rays, you can watch it however you want to watch it.
Right.
But I think if you're showing it to people for the first time, especially season 3, or the limited event series, then I wouldn't show it to them in like huge blocks.
When the creator says, please do not binge watch it. I mean, pay attention to that.
Yeah.
I agree. Let's see. People are just having wonderful conversations in the chat. It's so funny watching people 2 months after Twin Peaks is over still like discussing plot strands and stuff like that from the show. It's so awesome.
Yeah.
Jacob Star says, I would change the structure of season 3 if I had my chance. It's very simple. It's make your fan edit. Reggie says, oh, ready for this, Hal? They want you and me to do a backbeat watch along. You've seen Backbeat, right, Mandy?
Oh yeah.
I own Backbeat.
Okay, well there it is
on VHS.
Because it has that Cheryl Lee connection.
Yeah, and a lot of Cheryl Lee nudity. So,
no problem.
And that horrifying scream at the end. Oh my gosh!
I don't even remember the scream.
Yeah, when he has his aneurysm in the bathroom and she goes,
oh
my gosh, it's awful.
Stu Sutcliffe, man, what a strange story that is.
But
the creepy thing is on Sgt. Pepper's album, his little black and white photo in the upper left corner is kind of haunting the background of Sgt. Pepper's. It's always gave me the willies a little bit, or made you sad and melancholy a little bit for him. But I digress.
Bruno says, I'm totally pro the 1 episode a week model, but perhaps the gigantic amount of loose threads would be less frustrating to some people if they just watched it in a block. You know what? I can understand that, because if you are thinking about the show and, like I said, dreaming about the show and analyzing it, and then you realize that all of that was, according to the show, for nothing, right? Because we were wrong about so many things. I will still maintain that it wasn't for nothing, because that's what gave you the enjoyment of the show in between the episodes.
Yeah.
What is the thing that hangs with you the most about season 3? Like, as far as a dangling thread where you just kind of go, I can't stop thinking about it and wondering about it. What is it for you guys?
It's not Audrey.
See, that is it for me, Audrey.
But it's funny though, because so many people online will tell me the number one thing that everybody wants to know about is Audrey. And to me, I honestly feel like, for me, okay, I know it's not for most people, but for me, I feel like the Audrey thing's answered.
Okay. How would you answer it?
For me, okay, again, everybody's different.
Yeah.
I think if Diane was taken to the above the convenience store thing, I think that Audrey was taken somewhere similar. She's being is being kept somewhere. That's, nobody mentions her, nobody really talks about her. Obviously, I know Will says something about her, but it's in the past reference. But if Cooper goes back and saves Laura, and Laura doesn't die, and Cooper doesn't come to town, then Audrey doesn't get raped by the doppelganger, and therefore Audrey isn't where she is at the end of the series.
Right. So that wherever she is with Charlie or whatever then is shattered when Cooper breaks the timeline, and she's now somewhere else.
No. I just think that I just think that she's just living in her head wherever the doppelganger put her. But when Cooper went back and saved Laura, that changed the timeline for everybody. So therefore she's not even there anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's just that it never happened to her.
Right. So it's just a way of saying, how that affects everything. It's just,
well, because I could
throws
throw
everything into a state of flux.
Right. And I could throw something else out there and say, okay, Big Ed and Norma, big happy ending at the end of the series, which is always weird to me, because I loved it. But one problem I had with it was that it just seemed like a replay of the last part of season 2 anyway. But the thing that gets me is Big Ed sitting there with his eyes closed, and that purposeful slow zoom in on him, and the fact that just an episode or two earlier we got the Lynch quote of, "We are the dreamer who dreams the dream and then lives inside the dream." I was thinking, oh my God, they're giving us the happy ending, but could this just be in Big Ed's head? Because he's kind of meditating about it, and then her hands come behind it. Like that's the happy ending he wants. And again, we never cut back to them. So is that, did they really get a happy ending, or did they not? Lynch leaves it purposely ambiguous.
Although he did make some comment. He said, there are some things that are resolved and some things that are left dangling, just like life. So, I mean, wouldn't that be one that was resolved?
It's resolved, but doesn't mean it's resolved in real life. It could be just resolved in Big Ed's head.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, people wonder about Audrey. I wonder about Big Ed and Norma. Are they really together, or is that just the dreamer lives inside the dream?
Yeah.
I mean, so in terms of like plot strands, what keeps me up? I don't know. I think that a lot of it was so purposeful, and having things just kind of touch but not really. So in that space lives our fandom. we're the ones connecting the pieces together. We never get the answer about the New York thing, because we as fans can connect it every which way. I like to have fun with it and just say, I wish Ben Horn could have, taken a walk outside of his office. I mean, I understand they didn't have the set for the Great Northern, but Richard Beamer's so great as Ben Horn. Could we have had him, not sit at the desk? not walk around with Beverly. I mean, just in the corner of a room.
My big disappointment, as far as that goes, is still Ray Wise, man. So underused, criminally underused. And
I think that's the biggest one. I think even defenders of season 3 will say getting Ray Wise in the show and doing absolutely nothing with him is that's a Lynch and Mark Frost should have to pay a fine in cinema jail for that.
Because like somebody else mentioned, Fargo season 3 utilized Ray Wise and way better than Twin Peaks did, which is a crime.
Yeah. People are freaking out because I said that Big Ed and Norma were ambiguous. It is ambiguous. I mean, it's directed very happy, but that's what dreams are, right? It's we're trying to create the happy ending that we're not going to get. It's kind of like the ending of Brazil. Big Ed is probably just sad, eating his pie, sitting alone at night, eating his soup in the back store, but in his head, he's making out with Norma.
God, I love Brazil, man. What a great ending.
But yeah, I mean, like, I'm trying to think plot threads that just went that I just I'll tell you one thing. The whole Becky Steven thing, I would have been, and I was initially interested in their story, but now that it's all played out, I really could care less about that whole thing.
Yeah.
I think that was a wasted subplot. I think it began very strong, and then I think where it went, it's like it kind of just went down a path, and we were interested because we were interested in the show. But now that it's over, you look back and you go, "Well, that's one plot strand I'm not thinking about at all."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I could care less.
Once it was over, I didn't care.
Right. So, I mean, am I really, as a Twin Peaks fanatic, am I sitting down and thinking about Everybody Loves Steven? No.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all. I mean, am I thinking about James and Renee? No. I mean, I get a kick out of Freddie, but I'm not even thinking about Freddie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, isn't that weird? I mean, the guy who kills Bob, like, I could care less about analyzing that character.
Yeah.
Even though I enjoy his character, I like him in the show, I will never stop and think about that character.
And even something as enigmatic as Senorita Dido, I don't find myself pondering that so much,
Yeah. See, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's
why is that? Do you think? What is it? Just the cold remove of the way it was depicted that didn't engage us, or why aren't we? I don't know. It's interesting, but I find myself with a bit of Twin Peaks lethargy, to be honest with you.
Well, I think
I don't know why that is, because I so enjoyed it as it was unfolding.
Well, maybe it's because we've gotten used to the Lynch of Lost Highway, Mulholland Drive, and Inland Empire, where we know that there isn't really a lot of meaning behind it. It's just kind of like the meaning you bring to it.
Yeah.
So you can't really think about the character of Senorita Dido because
right. Why try to solve a puzzle when there is no solution?
Right. It's just Senorita Dido, and she gets a golden orb.
Yeah, because that's what happened. Yeah. Yeah,
and then they what's the dang town in Texas?
Odessa.
I still find it just fascinating on the rewatch of that scene, that when they send the orb to Earth, right when the picture fades out, the orb is right about to touch where Odessa, Texas is. So because is it future, is it past? I'm now convinced more than ever that whole scene is not in the 1940s, because they're not even on Earth, right? They're in the weird universe, heavens, or wherever they are. So I honestly think that when they send Laura, it's not them sending Laura to the Pacific Northwest. It's when Laura Palmer's in the Black Lodge and she gets thrown into the air and flown out, that's the orb flying to Odessa, Texas, that is how they took her there. Mm-hmm. And that's what I love about the analyzation of this show, of season 3. Yeah. You never got that in season 1 and 2. We didn't get golden orbs and Senorita Dido. We got Senior Drool Cup and Evelyn Marsh, and her brother / driver, But I will defend.
I wonder if Senorita Dido is somehow related to Senior Drool Cup.
You know what, though? If Mark Frost was a brave soul, there should have been a full chapter about Evelyn Marsh in this new book. like her prison stint. You know, that would have been amazing, right? I mean, that would have been great if one of Shelley's friends at the bar at the Roadhouse was Evelyn, and so when James like looking at Renee like, oh, you got a thing for James, and like Evelyn's like, I know James, you know. that would have been amazing.
I wish there would have been a chapter of Little Nicky and Dick Tremaine.
There you go. Yeah, Dick Tremaine at least like that.
Listen,
kind of interesting.
Listen. This is what they should have done. Take out that awful look.
Maybe it'll be book 3, you know.
I don't even know really know.
Dick Tremaine, Lana Milford.
I don't even know how to address this. But I'll try. I'll try. The scene where the kid gets run over is, I have to stop and sometimes wonder, like I think the actress who plays the mom, I think she did a great job. But what is that scene? What, you know what I mean? Like, it comes out of nowhere and then it goes away. It's you know, it's kind of a really harsh scene to just kind of throw into the series. But again, it's this kind of dark overtone going on in the series. But
well, it's the juxtaposition of that horror and then the goodness of Carl.
I understand all that.
But neither of them still went anywhere, because we already knew that Richard Horne was evil. He didn't have to kill a kid for us to know that further.
I mean, his introduction scene, he's strangling a woman in the Roadhouse.
Exactly. So, and then if they had created some sort of storyline with Carl that he could see spirits floating around and things like that and connecting people, that would be completely different. But it was so...
It's random.
Yeah.
That's I'm not opposed to that scene.
It was beautifully done.
Yeah, I'm opposed almost to just kind of, and I'm not saying the randomness of that kind of situation, because that's the randomness of life. I'm talking about it's the randomness of this scene in the middle of this movie that, again, like so many other scenes, we don't come into it and we don't come out of it. It's just this isolated standalone set piece. Right. But that being said, there's that, I say awful. I mean, he did what he had to do, but that truck driver that's just like, go ahead, you know, and the kid runs and gets hit. And then after the kid is dead, it cuts the truck driver like this. Oh, right. Like so almost like you would think he would get out of the car or the truck and say something, console the mom or something, but he's just like, oh. So if you were going to have somebody that, you know, just egotistical unto themselves, it should have been Richard Tremaine that said to the boy, cross, as he's trying to get to Horne's department store.
That would have been good, man. That would have been a great cameo, man. That would have been.
And because I could see Dick Tremaine like, bloody hell.
Yeah.
And there is your juxtaposition between comedy and horror. The kid gets run over and Dick Tremaine says, bloody hell.
And see, I would have rather had the truck you guy be Leo Johnson and have Sarah kill him, and that's how he died, rather than we read about it in Mark's book.
May I say that again?
You know, like the truck you guy that Sarah killed in the bar.
Right.
I would have rather had that guy be Leo Johnson. And that's how he would die, rather than we read about it in Mark's book. That it was, you know what I mean? I'd rather see that. I'd rather see Leo Johnson die.
Leo Johnson's going to make a pass at Sarah Palmer in a random bar.
Who knows?
I think Leo Johnson had sex with her daughter. He's not going to be
But he's such a creep, man. And the guy even looked like Leo Johnson a little bit. He's a trucker. He's got a ponytail.
You know who it should? You know who it should have been? It should have been Buck from Fire Walk with Me.
Oh my gosh, that would have been so great.
That's who should.
Wow.
She would have turned like, "What's your name?" Like same thing as Laura, and he like Buck.
Yeah.
And that would have been what an amazing callback that would.
Oh my god.
And his shirt would have said "Buck you" instead of "Truck you."
Exactly.
Oh.
I just remember seeing that scene and thinking, well, at least we know why she was watching those animal videos of them ripping out throats. So,
Yeah.
But you know, when you're talking about loose ends and stuff too, I mean Sarah is one of my top, like Carrie and Cooper and Sarah. Those are the two that really throw me off. Like,
I'm totally cool with what they did with Sarah Palmer, but I wish that there was more of her spread through the whole series and not just in the back, not in the back 4 episodes.
Absolutely.
More Grace Zabriskie is always welcome.
Because she nailed it.
Oh, she's so
it was amazing, but we needed more.
Yep.
So,
I mean, like, I'm not opposed to what they gave us in this season. I just wish that they had maybe shortened, this character that was going to go nowhere to give us a little bit more of this over here.
Right.
Like,
especially with as much time as they devoted to Dougie, they could have truncated that slightly.
And Laura and Sarah both removed their faces to reveal the light or the dark. Yeah. And it's only ever shown once. There's no context. There's no mention of it ever again. And I mean, that's really interesting. I want to know more about that. I don't want to see a kid getting killed by a truck. I want to see why Sarah is taking her face off and why Laura's taking her face off, and it's opposite, like that was really interesting to me. But
yeah, and at what moment did Sarah realize she could take her face off? What happened?
How long has she been able to do that?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, again, I think a lot of it you could kind of figure it out. I mean, I feel like,
well, and really they're just abstractions. They're not meant to be,
Yeah. I mean, I feel like once the experiment broke out of the glass, I mean, then it could infiltrate Sarah Palmer's body, and I don't think that Sarah Palmer was Judy for 25 years in between.
No.
Because then she would have caused some massive demolition in that town long before we even showed up. There wouldn't even be a sheriff's department. But I am convinced, though, that now having seen the series, I'm pretty convinced that Michael Onkeen was supposed to be the same character that we saw Frank Truman be. And I think that probably Michael Onkeen saw the role and was like, I don't really do much anything. I get yelled at by my wife. I sit behind a desk. I don't really do a lot. I'll probably sit out. And so they just kind of rewrote it to be the brother. And that's fine. It is what it is. But I will agree with others that have said that if Frank Truman, even though we loved Robert Forster, and I loved him in this show.
Yeah.
But since his character really didn't do anything, no offense, it's not his fault. They could have easily taken him out and made Hawk the sheriff, and that would have been great.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you would have accomplished everything the show did anyway. So again, I'm so happy to have Robert Forster in it. I'm not complaining that he's in it. I'm just saying from a script narrative, well, we could have, tightened it up a little bit. If you weren't going to have Harry Truman back, just make Hawk the sheriff. Makes sense why he's calling the meeting into the conference room to tell the log lady died, if he's the sheriff. I mean, he's Hawk is such a prominent person in this whole series until the final episode when he's supposed to be doing the most, and like I said, he kind of comes running in like he's pulling up his trousers from the bathroom.
Stop saying that. That's not what happened.
But it sure feels that way.
That's all I see now is the imaginary him pulling up his pants. It's not what's happening.
Toilet paper trailing.
You can't take out Hawk like that. You can't make his last scene be him all.
But they built him up so big in the series because he needed to be. He's one of the main people that I felt like could get Cooper out of the lodge and help out the situation. But
Margaret leads him to Glastonbury Grove, and then what happens? Nothing.
Yeah.
True.
It's a shame.
And I don't believe what other people say, where they say, Hawk saw the red drapes and he just kind of backed away. I don't think he saw the red drapes. I think that Lynch just showed us the red drapes to let us know they were still there, and Hawk just kind of got creeped out by being in that situation. And
or he knew it wasn't time yet to go through.
I would have loved to have seen
Stars
Hawk,
turn and
Hawk
time
go into
presents
the lodge.
itself, right? So
Yeah. Wouldn't you have loved to have seen Hawk go into the Black Lodge?
Oh,
been awesome.
so awesome.
We did get to see Andy go into the White Lodge. That was the greatest.
Yeah,
Which
but
was
again,
amazing.
but it didn't pay off. I mean, it paid off in terms of, I understand Lucy and the whole thing with the gun, blah, 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 blah. I'm just saying, I wanted, when Andy comes back and he's so self-assured carrying Naito.
Yeah.
He
just dropped it. Yeah.
I wanted to see that Andy from here on out.
Me too.
I wanted to see a self-assured Andy Brennan. Like, guys, I need you over here. I need you to over here. You know what I mean? Like,
because he had seen the future, had some enlightened vision. Yeah, so he was a totally changed guy.
And then what we got is, Doppelganger Cooper. Hi, come on over here.
Yeah.
And a lot of people online say, well, he knew it was the doppelganger because he'd seen the two pictures, and so he was playing dumb. I would like to say yes, but they never did like a kind of a small little push in on Andy to let us know he was in on it. I mean, there wasn't any of that. So obviously he knew a little bit, but I don't know. I kind of expected a little bit more from his character towards the end if they were going to give him such a prominent thing of going into the fireman's, room.
Do you think if there's a season 4 that Andy will be a changed guy to a noticeable degree, or will he
no
the same old shtick?
Same old shtick.
I just hope they take the pillow out of his shirt though this time. That was really distracting.
Yeah.
Why? They didn't even talk about it. Like, I
don't know. It's a fascinating show. We're going to be talking about it for forever, I'm sure. But I guarantee you there's going to be more coming down the pike sooner than later. Yeah. So anyway, thank you guys for joining me. Sorry to wrap this up 30 minutes even after I said that, but go ahead.
Yeah. All good. 3 hours, man.
Yeah.
We're still talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. How we're still lingering at the 2,800. It goes down 5 and up 3 and down 5 and up 2 and come on.
And whenever I'm on, the 2 thumbs down guys always nail us to this. I don't know what that's about. I blame myself.
Anyway, trying to get the channel to 3,000. If you can help, that'd be great. Also, make sure to subscribe to the Facebook page, the Twitter account, you name it. Mandy, are you on Twitter? You are.
Yes, I am.
Do you want people to write you on Twitter?
They can if they're nice.
Okay.
My handle's just at Jars Girl. So
all right.
Jars Girl.
And I'll link you in the on the tweet. And Hal, you're not on Twitter, right?
I'm not on Twitter, no.
Why aren't you on Twitter?
I am. I just don't. I'm not active on it. I follow things. But,
well, how can I tag you on Twitter?
I don't even remember what my name is on it. I'm more Facebook kind of guy. Find me on Facebook,
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. Hope you guys are having a great night, and we will see you soon. Take it easy. Bye.